Perk Alert.
This Perk Alert is brought to you by...
Yay for our teachers! Yay for our
Perk
teachers!
Alert.
This Perk Alert...
ready. Ben, come on.
All right, I'm ready.
Get with it.
Oh, man. Water. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. You're ready, huh? All right. Your Ben Joravsky show for Thursday, July 18th is just moments away. But before we get into that, we would like to thank the following unions for jumping on board and helping bring back the Ben Joravsky show. First up, it's the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 in District 8, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. A giant thank you to those unions for jumping on board and helping bring back the Ben Joravsky show. And, of course, today's program is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. The Ben Joravsky show starts now. It is Thursday, July 18th, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, Leor Galil, Chicago Reader music writer, will join us, and it's the return of Union Man and pension guru, the one, the only, Jeff Johnson. And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist and pension guru, Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Knowing to Walk Away. What's today? Thursday. And here's...
We're in for a hell of a show. What is today?
Hey, man, big news. Mayor Lori Lightfoot announced 5, count them 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential sites for Chicago's gambling casino. All right, D? It happened yesterday. We were on the air, so of course we couldn't talk about it yesterday. Lori always breaks the news we're on the air because she's like, oh.
Coincidence, I think not.
Ooh, I know. We'll break it when they're not paying attention. I'll sneak it by. Oh, you think you're slick, Lori Lightfoot. Anyway, by the way, it happened while Dennis was in the midst of tremendous pain. Leah, can we give a big shout out to Dr. D? I mean,
Please
okay.
Stop.
All right. The man had root canal surgery yesterday, folks. He went to his favorite dentist, Dr. Larry Curly and Moe.
Oh, still going with that one,
huh? They stuck a stick of dynamite into his mouth, lit it, blew it up, and took out what's a hammer and a chisel. Wise guy. And it's better than the dentist in Marathon, man. You ever see that movie, D?
No.
Okay. Millennial. Have you ever seen that movie? No. Okay. It came out in the 70s. Marathon Man. There was an evil dentist. He was a former, like a Nazi concentration camp guy. Laurence Olivier played him. I'm evil. Anyway, it was your dentist was sort of a combination of Larry Curly and Moe and the Dr. Olivier from that movie. But I think they used painkiller on you, didn't they, D? No?
They just give me the Novocaine, shot it in my mouth.
Man, he was so out of it yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. He's like, whoa. But you know what? Aaliyah, you know what they call him back in Alton? What do they call him?
White lightning.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry, there was ice in my mouth.
Made it to the beginning of the show.
Folks who only listen to the beginning don't listen to the end, yeah, they call him White Lightning back in Alton, Illinois. And he lived up to that reputation yesterday by being tough as nails.
Hey. Can we talk about casinos now or what?
Oh, casinos. Sorry, where was I? Oh, yes. Anyway, Lori released her 5 casino sites. All right? So there's good news. Let's just deal with the good news. The good news at the top of the bill right here. Good news. In the past, Chicago has not entertained the notion of a casino. The attitude was organized crime elements in the city were so pervasive that Chicago couldn't have a casino because it would immediately be taken over by the mob. Well, apparently, organized crime has been eradicated in the city of Chicago, D. I guess that means we only have disorganized crime.
Oh, my goodness.
I'd be working at St. Eastern. Anyway, and so
funny.
They must have gotten rid of organized crime because all of a sudden they passed a law that enables us to have a casino, and Lori Lightfoot has come up with 5 sites. So there we go. Organized crime has been defeated. They have a whole process. I don't know if you know this, Steve. They have a whole process by which they will select a site in Chicago, and there's rules governing this process, okay? So rule number 1, ding, Mayor Lightfoot recommends 5 sites, which she did. We'll get into those sites a little later in the show. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, a consultant hired by the Illinois Gaming Board will review those sites to see which one is better than the other and then make some recommendations, write a report, an advisory report. Rule number 3, the state board, gaming board will pick a site, select a site. And rule number 4, and here's the kicker, the state board does not have to pick a site that was recommended by Lori Lightfoot. Okay?
So this all could be for nothing.
Thank you. So rule number 5 is the only rules that exist in Chicago is there are no rules.
You called me dentist. Hey. Never heard that one before.
Back in Alton, they call him White Lightning, but over here they call him Dr. Dentist. Anyway, it reminds me, Dennis, of the situation that occurred a couple of years ago. Mayor Rahm asked his police board to come up with 3, count up 3, 1, 2, 3 recommendations for his police superintendent, and he, of course, picked nobody that was on the list. Mayor Rahm, what a character. I miss him so much, don't you? So, now, let me tell you another rule about Chicago, everybody. Ricky Hannon, good friend Ricky Hannon, who comes on this show quite frequently, a former alderman, former state senator, big-time political operator in the city of Chicago, is also a host of a Saturday radio show on a station. I can't remember the name of the station right now, but it is a station in the city of Chicago.
Oh, WCU later, Ben Joravsky?
Yes, that's that station. Ricky likes to say that there are the meetings before the meetings, and then there are the meetings before the meetings before the meetings, implying that there's always something secret going on. Well, apparently, in the city of Chicago, when it comes to police superintendents and gambling casino sites, there are lists beyond the lists. And my bet, as long as we're talking about casinos, my bet, D, is that the ultimate site selected for a casino in the city of Chicago is not on Mayor Lightfoot's list. We got a great show today, everybody. Leor Galil will be here.
Yeah.
You know, most people say...
Gambling. Coming soon, baby.
Most people say that before you eat your cake, you have to eat your vegetables, okay? So Leor Galil knows everything about Pitchfork.
And vegetables.
And festivals and music, something I know very little about. I'm into like real substantive issues of politics, all right? What's Donald Trump doing to the country?
Huge nerd.
All right, yeah. But today I'm going to force to eat my chocolate cake, all right? We're going to talk about festivals. So take your paper out, your pencils, and take notes and who's playing where, and let's see if I've heard of any of the bands, which I'm sure I haven't, except for, I don't know if you know this, D.
What?
The Isley Brothers are coming to Pitchfork.
You know the Isley Brothers.
One band out of the whole group. There's always like the geezer band. Let's get a band that Ben's heard of. Well, the Isley. I love the Isley Brothers, all right?
So you're going to Pitchfork?
No, I saw the Isley Brothers. They have 2 separate festivals. D. Let me explain to you how this works. There's the Young People Festival, which is where the Isley Brothers appeared for Pitchfork. So Z's, millennials get together and go, oh my God, my grandfather told me about the Isley Brothers. And then there's like the Old People Festival, where it's Taste of Chicago, the Sunday of Taste of Chicago, where they gather all the old people in Chicago like myself. And we get to watch the Isley Brothers and the OJs, et cetera, and so forth. So I will not be watching the Isley Brothers at Pitchfork. But,
man.
I know, but looking for, Leor, I may throw a political question at Leor, because he can handle politics. Anyway, speaking of politics, Jeff Johnson, the man, the myth, the legend, knows absolutely everything about pensions, Chicago politics, state politics. I'll throw some national politics at him. We may have a mystery guest in the 2:30 hour as well. So a lot of political talk on this show. But before we do any of that, the doctor feeling stronger than ever as the drugs wear off. Thanks to, one more time, a shout out to Dr. Larry, Curly, and Mo.
Those aren't my doctors. Dr. Salih, he's a nice man. Come on.
Hold on, let me get that chisel out. Anyway, Dr. D with the news.
All right, everybody, it's the middle of the day. I'm not a doctor. I'm feeling better. Time to unpack the national news happening this afternoon. And if you didn't already know, a lot of today's national news, pretty ugly. Yeah. So, what do you say we start with some good news?
Okay.
Yeah, sound good, right?
Did Donald Trump resign while I wasn't paying attention?
No. House Democrats, though, have passed a $15 minimum wage bill.
Oh.
Pretty cool, right?
That is very cool.
The House passed a bill along party lines to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, marking a victory for Democratic leaders. So that's about it for the exciting soft news. Now, the immediate hard landing. Here we go. Donald Trump had another one of his stupid rallies Wednesday night. Yeah. This one was in North Carolina. And, of course, the focus of his speech was the squad, the four progressive Democratic congresswomen that we've heard in the news as of late, who was told by our president, by the way, in a series of tweets earlier this week to go back to where they came from. And in case you were wondering how Trump supporters were feeling about all this, well, breaking news, these people will follow Donald Trump off of a cliff.
Oh. Yeah, they've already done that.
Good Lord, anytime. Because when he put the focus on Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, chants of, what was it? It wasn't send her back. What was the chant that they were saying again?
It was send her back.
Oh, it was send her back.
Yeah.
Send her back. For some reason, I got it mixed up. Yeah, send her back.
It's all that drugs you've been taking for that root canal
all right,
surgery.
maybe I'm not completely 100% on the men, but no, they were chanting that. Let's listen to the audio.
Representative Ilhan Omar. Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Yes, all right. Vicious anti-Semitic screeds. That's Donald Trump. That's part of his overall political strategy to try to somehow get Jewish voters not to vote for the Democratic candidate in 2020, particularly important in swing states like Florida, Pennsylvania, of course, and in the Philadelphia area. Donald Trump is no fool. We discussed that yesterday. He may act like an ass, but he's no fool. He knows what he's doing, and he's stirring up hate, and he's up to no good. And so that's what it's all about. And, you know, I wish there was somebody in the Republican Party who had the guts to stand up to him, because it's one thing for me or people like me who are Democrats, basically, to denounce Trump. But I am looking for anyone in the Republican Party who will say there's just something hateful and ugly and nasty and damaging to our country to have a coliseum filled of people send her back. It's like, what did they say about Hillary? Lock her up. They always they pick a woman, a prominent woman in the news, and they target her as the evil person. It's almost like the scapegoat they want to destroy. So I'm looking for anyone in the Republican Party will have the guts to stand up to Donald Trump, and so far there have been far and few.
All right, so here we are now on Thursday, dealing with the consequences. It's 2016 all over again. Senior Washington Democrats are now concerned with Omar's safety and calling for authorities to evaluate security for the Congresswoman. Representative Peter Welch, a Democratic congressman from Vermont, issued a statement on Thursday saying he had, quote, come to the conclusion that the president should be impeached. So add another to the list there. And civil rights leader Jesse Jackson tweeted today that what happened at last night's Trump rally is life-threatening and against Equal Employment Opportunity Commission workplace regulations.
All right. Well, again, these are Democrats. Jesse Jackson, of course, Jesse Lewis Jackson, right here in the city of Chicago, is a Democrat. Ran for president as a Democrat in '84 and '88. I'm looking for Republicans to stand up. S.E. Cupp, we'll get into this a little later, a columnist, conservative columnist, wrote a great column in today's Bright One. Here it is. Everybody see?
Get a look at that, downloaders.
All right, downloaders, look at that. S.E. Cupp, got to give her a shout out, because unlike a lot of conservative columnists who play like they do it too game, they can't bring themselves to criticize a Republican without also mentioning a Democrat. Certain columnists here in the city of Chicago do that all the time. She just goes after Trump. She has a lot of guts. Too bad there's not more Republicans like S.E. Cupp with the guts to tell it like it is. Donald Trump is stirring up hate and fear to win re-election.
Now, I do have Republican responses to this. I also have Ilhan Omar's response back to the president, but I feel like the following group of people have been severely pushed out of the political spotlight this week. So I'm going to read their responses first, all right? Hey, come on, everybody. Let's hear it for our 2020 Democratic presidential candidates.
We have not heard from them.
Yeah. Our 2020 Democratic POTUS hopefuls have weighed in on Twitter. Now there's like 50 of them, so I'm only going to read a few, all right? I only have a few minutes here. So first up, it's candidate and Senator Kamala Harris. She put on Twitter, "It's vile. It's cowardly. It's xenophobic. It's racist. It defies the office of the president, and I won't share it here. It's time to get Trump out of office and unite the country.
Well, again, she's a Democrat. I agree 100% with what she's saying, but I want to hear it from the Republicans as well. But anyway, yeah.
It's coming.
Okay, all right.
Got it in the news
it's
here.
coming, all right.
But first,
Yeah,
Mr. $27 himself weighed in.
Bernie
Sanders. Bernie said Trump knows that when we stand together and fight for racial, social, economic, and environmental justice, we have the power to defeat him. So the demagogue is doing what he knows best, divide and conquer through hate.
Yeah, I don't know if Bernie says that Trump knows. I don't know if Trump knows that. I think Trump believes that hate will conquer love. That's the prevailing political philosophy that governs Donald John Trump. It got him elected president in 2016. Well, that and Russian interference, that and our crazy electoral college situation we have in this country where we can lose the election and still get to be president. How about that, folks? Huh? What basketball game is governed that way, D? Where you get to lose the game and still be the winner, huh? Well, anyway, Donald John Trump. So I think Donald John Trump thinks that hate will conquer love, and I don't think he knows what Bernie said.
Here's Grandpa Joe Biden. He went on Twitter. He put, "So, Mr. President, I am here to tell you this. This is our country," all caps, our country, the United States of America. You'll never understand what makes us strong, and that's why the American people are going to vote you out of the office next year.
I hope he's right in that second part, and he will. I agree with Grandpa Joe. Donald Trump does not understand what makes America strong. He's been against tolerance and an integration his whole life. And he's triumphed, by the way, by being a bigot. And here he is, he's president of the United States, so he's done well by playing that game. So he has only been rewarded for his foulness and his misdeeds. We'll see if this time around he gets punished.
And finally, Ilhan Omar herself, she recently fired back at the president and his rabid supporters saying, quote, "I am here where I belong at the people's house, and you're just going to have to deal." And another tweet, she said, oh, no, that's it. Yes, if I'm where I belong, and you're going to have to deal. So as far as the Republicans, here we go, Ben.
All right, here we go. Let's go. Profiles and courage coming up.
And, you know, since the 2016 election, a lot of conservative politicians have grown to really like that giant, ugly mole on their face, also known as Donald Trump. So while they let it be known that they are indeed not fans of these send her back chants, which were initiated by the president himself, they still got to back their boy, all right? Take Tennessee Republican Representative Tom Burchett, for example. Burchett said, quote, "Is the president a racist or not? I don't think he is. I wouldn't have chosen those words. They're hurtful, but you know what? Dadgummit." My grandma says that.
He didn't say that.
He said dadgummit.
Wait, time out. Is this in a tweet?
Yeah, it's
he
in a
said
tweet.
dadgummit in a tweet?
Yeah.
I thought you only had like 140. You know, I haven't
got
been
moved
following
up.
the Twitter.
Yeah, more than 140 now.
You know, no one told him. I didn't see the memo.
I wouldn't have chosen those words. They're hurtful, but you know what, dadgummit? We're in Congress. Grow up. It's tough. Life is tough. Just take it and go.
Wow. So we're just supposed to tolerate racism? That's the message
Yeah.
the Republican Party is setting out? Come on, be a man.
Here's Republican House Rep Mark Walker.
Okay, what do you have to say?
Though it was brief, I struggled with the send her back chant tonight, referencing Representative Omar. Her history, words, and actions reveal her great disdain for both America and Israel. That should be our focus and not phrasing that's painful to our friends in the minority communities.
Okay, the SE Cup deals with this, where you try to distinguish one part of the hate from the other part of the hate by blaming the person that you're hating. So I don't really, that's, come on, take a stand, all right? Denounce the hate.
All right, we got one more quote. I think this may be what you're looking for. I don't know. Finally, our homeboy, and by that I only mean he's from Illinois. It's Illinois Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger.
All right, what does Kinzinger have to say?
He said, "I deeply disagree with the extreme left and have been disgusted by their tone.
But
I woke up today equally disgusted. Chants like send her back are ugly, wrong. It would send chills down the spines of our founding fathers. This ugliness must end or we risk our great union."
All right. I appreciate Adam Kinzinger for saying that. By the way, for 10 trivia points, D, who ran against Adam Kinzinger in the 2018 election?
Ice Cube. It's my guess for everything. Am I wrong?
Ice Cube, you would be wrong, but he would have been a heck of a candidate. I liked him at Ride Along. No, it was Sarah Dade. Come on, get with it. Neil Muhammad ran in the primary. Remember that, D?
Oh, yeah, you're smart. I'm not. I see.
But anyway, no, man, you're smart. It's just all the drugs you took for that root canal are kicking in, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, like this thing where he starts off by ripping Omar and then ripping the other people. I guess that's called political cover. Anyway, I appreciate what SE Cup did. You got any more quotes you're going to read on this?
No, we'll of course keep you posted on these stories as today's program rolls along. But right now, we're going to find out what's going on locally. We're going to find out what else is news. And guys, we're done with alligator stories, okay? We promise.
Come on, man.
Alligator's gone. We're back to being non-alligator Chicago. And we got important business to discuss.
Oh, man, I like that alligator.
The question today, nothing to do with an alligator. Quit looking at me like that. Just where in the hell are we going to put Chicago's first casino?
We discussed this casino thing already. What you got for me,
Because
D?
it looks like we're getting one. Here's the quote from Mayor Lightfoot in the press release. Quote, while a Chicago casino has been talked about for more than 30 years, today we are moving forward to ensure the new casino is viable for Chicago and all of its communities. The following comes from the Illinois Political Bulldogs at Illinois Politico and one Chia Capos. What?
The political bull. I'm sorry when you did that. It made me laugh.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot has rolled the dice. That's pretty good. That's good, Capos.
Okay, get it?
Yeah, that's good. Mayor Lori Lightfoot has rolled the dice on 5 sites to be considered for a possible casino in Chicago. They're all located on the city's south and west sides, far from McCormick Place or Navy Pier. We got the 5 sites right here. But Ben, before we find out what the mayor's thinking, what are you thinking? Where would you like to see Chicago's first casino?
All right, well, let me tell you this before I answer that. I don't believe the casino site will be on one of these 5. I already said that at the start of the show. The joke of the whole selection site process is you don't have to pick the site, one of the sites that the mayor has on the list. So I'm all over the map on this one, D.
No, Ben Joravsky all over the map?
I'm the proverbial flag flapping in the proverbial breeze on this one because I read all these. People say, well, casinos don't really give the jolt of economic development that neighborhoods need that want them. So it's sort of like a fortress that people just enter and then leave, probably broke. Because let's face it, folks, these casinos are set up to shake you down and take your money. So it's not like you're going to have money and you're going to walk out and go, I'm going to go to a restaurant. You'd be too broke to go to a restaurant. You go in, you go out. So there's really not like the spillover economic development effect. So I'm like, I don't know if it's such a great idea to put it in a neighborhood that really needs economic development. Maybe it's a better idea to put some kind of business in there that will develop a spillover effect. So then I'm thinking, well, then put it downtown. All right. It's just, that's where the entertainment industry is right now. There's all the theaters downtown. Maybe it's a good idea to put it downtown. Then again, thinking, they're going to end up spending public dollars to put it downtown. More money for a public dollar spent. See me? Which way in the wind?
I just picture you sitting by yourself at home. Well, there's this and there's that.
Yeah, I know. I talk to myself, D. And then sometimes I call Dennis up. Dennis, you want to talk to me about the casino?
I'm like, dude, it's 1 a.m. Please stop.
I have a life. And LIFE. Ever heard of it? Anyway, so I've got one. So anyway, I'm all over the map, and part of me just thinks we shouldn't even have a casino in the first place because you're just shaking down poor people who shouldn't be gambling in the first place because you're soaking you people. The whole industry is set up to soak you, all right? At least in the marijuana industry, you get something out of it, right? Get high.
Well, I tell you what, I'm excited about it, all right? We got a casino coming. I'm from downstate Illinois. We got riverboat casinos. Time we get a casino down here.
We got riverboats around here. Elgin's got a riverboat.
Oh, man, you haven't lived till you've been on a riverboat casino, buddy. I got this slot machine here. You guys can't see it on the video, but let's fire it up. Yeah! Let's find out these 5 locations.
All right, let's go through the locations, none of which will be selected, folks.
All right, the 5 locations proposed today. We begin.
Conquistador.
Okay, please stop.
Oh, sorry.
We begin with...
Your computer.
What?
Number 1.
And I got YouTube going on at the same time.
Wow.
Get off of there, YouTube. All right. Number 1, the former Michael Reese Hospital site at 31st Street and Cottage Grove Avenue.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in the city of Chicago, you may not realize it, but you own it. You may not realize it, but your property taxes went to acquire it. You may not realize it that the former mayor that you voted for year after year after year, despite the fact that I was urging you not to vote for him, Mayor Richard M. Daley, thanks for not listening to me, he spent $90 million of your dollars, or dedicated $90 million plus of your property tax dollars to buy it as part of his great scheme. Remember this one? To have the Olympics come to the city of Chicago. Now it's just this big vacant chunk of land not far down the road from where Lior Galil works every day. Lior's our next guest. That's my way of doing a transition, D. How about that?
You're good.
Oh, come on.
You are good.
At my beloved Chicago Reader, they're right down the street from there. So it's a big vacant chunk of land. They should have put the Obama Center there. But no. President Obama wanted to be in a park overlooking the lake. The University of Chicago wanted. So that's where we're putting it in a park. City of Chicago, unbelievable. You got a big chunk of vacant land that you already own. Okay. It's not going to interrupt anybody's walking through the park looking at the birds and the butterflies. No, I know what we're going to do. We won't put it in the vacant land. We'll put it in the park. I'm a leader in the city of Chicago. Anyway, so you have the
Seven. Cherry. Oh, damn.
We got this big chunk of vacant land. Michael Reese Hospital, the local alderman says she doesn't want it, and the residents don't want it. So don't put it there if the locals don't want it.
All right, so there you go. Site number 1, the former Michael Reese Hospital site at 31st Street and Cottage Grove Avenue. Let's find out our second location here.
Conquistador.
Why are you doing that?
Oh, sorry.
It's time for...
Number 2.
Number 2. All right. All that work for number 2. Okay. A site near the Harborside Golf Course at 111th Street and the Bishop Ford Freeway.
Yes, hold on. This is Alderwoman Sue Sadlowski Garza twisting my arm. Come on, Ben, see what? Sue Garza, there's 2 sites from her neck of the woods, and she wants them for both. She wants it down in the 10th Ward. She says it's going to be great for the 10th Ward. She's sick of seeing people go to Hammond, to the casino. And by the way, why don't we just cut a deal with the state of Indiana and Hammond and take some of their proceeds? Why don't we do that? Huh? That's an idea. Why don't we just do that?
Why are you asking me, dude?
Well, I don't. That would have made sense too, because everybody always says, Sue Garza comes on the show and she says, Ben, do you know that all these Illinois plates, all these Illinois cars are going to Hammond? And as though, they're driving through the 10th Ward. Why don't we? So I'm thinking, just occurred to me, D. It's like a moment of inspiration.
That's awesome.
Why don't we just cut a deal with the state of Indiana and get into that? Then not build another casino at all. There you go. I just figured everything out. Instead, spend the money that we're going to use to build a casino to, I don't know, more mental health clinics. D. Everybody's losing their mind in the city of Chicago.
Are you listening to this, Lori Lightfoot?
Oh, yeah.
Take notes.
Anyway.
Please. All right, site number 2, a site near the Harborside Golf Course at 111th Street and the Bishop Ford Freeway. It is time now for...
Number 3.
Oh, yeah, number 3. An area near Guaranteed Rate Field at Pershing Road and State Street.
Yeah, okay. Wait a minute. Isn't that Pershing Road and State Street? I didn't even know that area. Hold on.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah, Pershing Road. What's there now?
The baseball field?
Yeah, right near White Sox Park. Nah, don't put it there. It's right near White Sox Park. Put it somewhere where people well, although on the other hand, D, here we go. On the one hand, this, on the one hand, that. You are near an entertainment district in that, it is White Sox Park. So maybe people go to the casino, get broke, and, well, they won't have any money to go to White Sox Park. So, I don't like it there either.
All right, he doesn't like it there. We're running short on time, so let's just hammer these next 2 out here at
Number 4.
Number 4. By the way, if you just tuned in, we're naming the possible sites of a casino.
Well, these are just the possible sites suggested by Lori Lightfoot. My money, I'm betting, going to Vegas right now, that the ultimate site in the city of Chicago, if we have it at all, will not be on this list. Go.
All right. Glass half full over there for Joravsky. Number 4, the former U.S. Steel parcel, also known as Southworks, between 79th and 91st Streets along Lakeshore Drive. And finally,
Number 5.
a site near Roosevelt Road and Costner Avenue on the west side.
Yeah, this is the site, the site that they would put the huge dumps, illegal dumps in the late 80s, early 90s. I've talked about this many times in the show. I've written about it in the Chicago Reader. I wanted the presidential library to go. Ricky Hendon. Many people laughed at me. They go, they're not going to put the presidential library at that site.
Oh, I remember laughing at you about
Ricky
that.
Hendon going, oh my God, that's hilarious, Ben. So they want to put a casino there. The local alderman, Michael Scott, wants it. Again, there's the issue. Will that generate economic development or be just like a fortress? People go in, people go out. My hunch is they're not going to put it there. My hunch, ladies and gentlemen, one last time, none of these sites will be the one they choose. They'll have another site that at the last minute gets put in. That's so Chicago. No study, no review, no consultant. Deals cut, D.
So there you are. Just like that, you're now in the know of what's going on locally. You'll now have an answer the next time someone asks you, hey, what else is news? The live stream chat is weighing in here. Alicia puts, let the gator choose where to put the casino. People love that alligator.
I love the alligator. By the way, they threw it one more time.
Oh, God.
My beloved son Times, I love you dearly, but every time you write about the gator, do you have to throw Alligator Bob under the bus? One more time.
I tried my hardest, man.
They invariably go, well, what an Alligator Rob, or he was the one who figured it out, not Alligator Bob. He couldn't figure it. God, man, go easy on the guy, all right?
And the guy who put the alligator in the lagoon should throw out the first pitch of the game, right?
Well, I guess.
Right? No, they'd fine his ass.
Well, it's illegal. I believe it's illegal to like
slippery
throw it
slope.
out.
Slippery slope. Man, that gator was awesome. And just like that, you're now in the know of what's going on. Now you'll know what else is news. Okay, I think we're going to go to break now.
Now, let me tell you one thing.
What?
Something that Ernie Isley,
Okay.
Ronnie Isley,
All right.
and Leor Galil, our next guest, they all agree. You did a great job. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. We'll be right back after this.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan. Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. Discover the breadth and majesty of Chicago's architecture on a Chicago Architecture Center bus tour. From bungalows to Bauhaus, our expert docents will share the fascinating stories behind our city's architecture. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm actually on a bus tour right now. Oh my, look at that wonderful piece of architecture.
Hey! Playing now at Steppenwolf Theater, the world premiere of Ms. Black for President. It's inspired by the true, that's true as in it really happened, TRUE story of Joan Jett Black, America's first drag queen presidential candidate. You know who created it, D?
No.
It was created by Tony nominee Tina Landau.
Oh.
And you know who else created it?
No.
Oscar winner Terrell Alvin McCraney. You know him, Moonlight.
Oh, yeah.
For tickets, visit steppenwolf.org. That's Steppenwolf, like the rock group from the 60s.
Hang tight, millennials. The Ben Joravsky Show is supported by the Northwestern Summer Writers Conference. Now in its 15th year, the 3-day conference held in Chicago features a diverse array of workshops, speakers, discussions, and readings. Learn more at sps.northwestern.edu/writers. Hey, that commercial break's over. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Yes, indeed, we are live. We are at the Chicago Sun-Times. The beautiful bright one built me this lovely studio, and with me in the studio, Leor Galil, ace music writer for the Chicago Reader, my beloved reader. And here's the latest issue of the Reader, right here. And on the cover is Pitchfork. It's a guide to Pitchfork, and as everybody knows, Pitchfork.
Oh, you love this festival.
Pitchfork, say that 20 times, is a big musical festival. And what they do, they put Pitchfork together, Leor, and the governing principle is, let's get a bunch of bands that Ben has never heard of because he stopped listening to music in 1979, which gives him an excuse to have Leor on his show who can help him figure out what's going on musically. How about that?
To be fair, I think that's also the governing principle of every music festival over the summer. So you have to get more specific.
All right. I'm going to correct you on that one. I like to say this. What is it called? Taste of Chicago. They have Old People Fest, the last day of every Taste of Chicago, where they put a band on that Ben's heard of. Because, well, this time they had India Ari was the act. Yeah. And my wife's a fan of India Ari. And I really don't know anything about India Ari, but I went because my wife wanted to go and she got the tickets. I really liked it a lot. Have you ever been to an India Ari concert?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, everybody knows the lyrics to the song. They're like singing.
I would hope so. If you're paying, how expensive were those tickets?
Well, okay, this is something, a little secret that I'm going to let out here that people should not know. I almost don't want people to know this. One of the best deals the city of Chicago has, Leor, is the, what do they call it? Like the special seats, the VIP seats for Taste of Chicago, like $40.
Is that good?
to see India RE. I've seen the these are the old people groups that they've had.
Yeah.
OJ's, Isley Brothers, Erykah Badu. For some reason, they consider her like an old people group. I'm not quite sure why. She's like 90s, isn't she? Or O's?
Yeah.
And India. What's that?
Yeah, a long time ago, the 90s.
Yeah, the 90s. So anyway, I don't know, $40 just have a great seat. Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty decent. I just I'm so used to paying $5 to $10 for shows, and granted, some of that is informed by experiences that were a decade ago.
A decade ago. If you go to, I do not believe you could go to see a big time show like with a star like India RE for $40. I don't know. Maybe, what do I know? You're the music expert.
Yeah.
I'm just the political expert. All right, let's break it down. There's actually 2 festivals coming up.
There's actually 4 this weekend.
Go ahead, talk about it.
So there's Columbia Fest, which we haven't written anything about, unfortunately, but that's on the far west side. There's Pitchfork Fest, which is in Union Park. This is its 14th year. Technically, it's 15th year because Pitchfork, the website, 15 years ago, they put together a festival for intonation music, and that eventually became Pitchfork the following year. Silver and Block Party, which is now in its 16th year, is down in Hyde Park. And ComplexCon Chicago makes its debut this year. It started in LA a few years ago. And that's kind of a mishmash of like streetwear, fashion, and music, and panels about things that I'm honestly not sure that information hasn't been publicly announced. So, but yeah, there are musical performances there too. So those are 4 major festivals that are happening this weekend.
And so what are you going to do? What is it?
I'm going to Pitchfork all 3 days. I considered trying to make it down to the Silver Room Block Party. The unfortunate thing is not only the distance, but Pitchfork, there's no re-entry, and some of the acts that I want to see are early in the day. Some of the acts that I want to see at Silver Room Block Party are later in the evening. There's unfortunately a lot of overlap there, and I've made my choice. But Silver Room Block Party is expecting 50,000 people. It's a free event. I mean, they take donation, but yeah, they're expecting 50,000 people this year. Last year, they had 40,000 people in torrential downpour. So it's grown significantly since it started in an alley in Wicker Park in 2002.
And so this year it's in Hyde Park?
It's been in Hyde Park the past few years. So Eric Williams, who opened the Silver Room store in Wicker Park in 1997, moved his store down to Hyde Park in April 2015. And he took the summer of 2015 off and then decided to reboot the block party the following year with help from the University of Chicago and a few other organizations. And particularly since it's had like the kind of infrastructural support in Hyde Park, it's been able to grow tremendously year over year. So they have 3 outdoor stages. They have several indoor events. They're building an outdoor roller rink this year at the Silver Room Block Party. And they have, fantastic musicians that perform every year, 90% of whom are local, and some of whom don't get to perform in front of 40,000 to 50,000 people on the regular. But yeah, it's a massive event.
And let's talk about it before we get to Pitchfork, which we were going to. Tell me some of the groups that the acts that you think are notable that people should know about.
Well, in the reader this week, the Silver Room has a pull-out guide to the festival, and the one that I'm most interested in, who has since been removed from the online lineup, is Pastor T.L. Barrett, who made some really tremendous gospel records in the late 70s, and who has been sampled endlessly by Kanye. Since then, and he's scheduled to perform at 2:40 on Saturday afternoon on the main stage. He has been removed from the website. I hope that is just a glitch, because that would be a really fascinating experience. Ron Trent headlines the main stage. He and Eric Williams are longtime, like, really close friends, and he's performed every Silver Room Block Party. It's kind of a big, good night performance that he does every year. He's a 90s house legend, and yeah, it's pretty amazing that he comes back to do this every year. But it's a big community event. This Eric Williams has talked pretty regularly about how he is really intentional and how he wants to keep the vibe of this event as close to a block party as possible. He wants everyone to feel welcome. He wants people of all ages there. And from what I've heard and from people that I've talked to, yeah, you get like a pretty broad range of ages of folks that are hanging out, grandparents hanging out with their grandkids, and and the eclecticism of the lineup pretty much matches that. You got gospel, you got jazz, you got house music, you got hip hop. Masta Ace, who's like a 90s hip hop legend, is coming in. He's playing at like 4 p.m. It's a really cool event.
He's playing at let me see if I get this right, at the Times. That's the Times. He's playing at 4:15, 5:30. It's hard for me to figure out how with this
with the schedule.
Yeah, the schedule here, but that would be the first day. It's at 53rd and Lake Park in Hyde Park.
It's only on Saturday, so the first and only day.
Oh, I thought it was 2 days.
No, there are just 3 outdoor stages. And again, there are several indoor stages. And it's really cool. They've done a good job of involving community organizations or just like community outlets such as the Tribe, who the reader has worked with pretty significantly since that website for Black millennials in Chicago launched a couple years ago. And so the Tribe has booked a showcase of local rappers that they have covered extensively to perform during their hour on stage 3 on 53rd in Dorchester.
53rd in Dorchester, right. Anybody else that you want to point out?
Vic Spencer is a fantastic local rapper. He's very much like an old school boom bap minded MC who's lyrical first, who's he's certainly inventive in the way that he chooses to rap and describe his world, and I think he's a very immersive rapper. He's kind of staunchly set in his ways as an MC. He won't sing, and that's so in vogue with rappers these days, and I appreciate that.
Wait, which part is in vogue? Not singing or singing?
Singing is, yeah, or bending your flow so that it resembles singing and kind of blurs that.
And what's your opinion about this?
I think both are good. I just appreciate that Vic goes against the flow and
does what he does.
And does what he does, yeah.
What do you think, Ben?
I appreciate anybody that goes against the flow, even if I don't know the issue. That's why I keep saying I want some Republicans to go against. Look, I cannot have a discussion on anything without going political. But I appreciate anybody who's determined to do what he or she thinks is right in the face of other people telling what to do. So, although I have to say, I'm not going to contradict myself. I'm not really
used to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. Having said that, I go, well, Kanye West. That people are going, well, Ben, what about Kanye West going to the White House and palling around with Donald John Trump? Well, I think you have to serve some common sense. So I'm not comparing.
Yeah. It's not a hard and fast rule.
Yeah, it's not. Well, and then there's like levels here. So a guy who says I am not going to sing because I have a lousy voice, I just want to rap, is different than a rapper going to the White House and saying I love you, Donald. Don't you see a distinction there?
Yeah. I don't know that Vic's a bad singer. I just know he doesn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't mean to say that. I know I did say that. I thought he didn't sing because he couldn't sing.
No, it's just I don't think he's necessarily interested in that.
In your humble opinion, can Drake carry a tune? Go.
Yeah. I mean, he's had vocal training, and yes, he absolutely can.
The last time you were in the show, as I recall, you took him down pretty hard.
Well, I don't think he's any good anymore. It feels very clear that he's just kind of spinning his wheels.
And I just say that because Miles, who's our last editor, who's now summering in Europe, I think he is, was really upset with you. He wanted to argue with you on that point.
I would have.
Yeah, he would have too. He was ready to go, but I was ready to move on to politics. All right, and I'm looking at the rest. Billy Branch.
Billy Branch is he's a big, well-known Chicago bluesman. He played Blues Fest a couple years ago. I think he was one of the headliners. He and Rhymefest actually collaborated on a song, which is pretty cool.
And he'll be at 4:30 on stage 2, 52nd and Harper.
Yeah, and a couple hours after that is Avery R. Young, who is a local poet and longtime contributor to Chicago culture, who recently put out an album and book. And I've seen clips of his performances recently. They're quite remarkable. So it'll be cool for him to basically help close out stage 2 that night, right before the Growing Concerns Poetry Collective, who the reader we've covered pretty extensively.
Well, this is 40,000 people last year, did you say, or 50,000 people in the pouring rain?
40,000 people last year in the pouring rain. This year they're expecting 50.
And it's supposed to be nice weather, I think, on Saturday. Am I right about that?
There's supposed to be some scattered thunderstorms, but there's going to be a heat wave, so I can't imagine the rain will last that long.
Well, I know this is a tangent within a tangent, but the weather crew has not exactly been on target with their weather these days. Today was supposed to be the start of the heat wave. I walk in, I get drenched, and it's like it was 70 degrees. Anyway, that's a tangent within a tangent, Leor. All right, so that's Silver Room, and again, the reader, I urge everybody to check it out, has a whole insert.
And I did an oral history of the Silver Room Block Party for the issue as well.
Very cool. Leor Galil knows his stuff. All right, let's move on to Pitchfork, which will be the festival you will be attending 3 days.
Starting. 3 days. I'm already exhausted. I don't recommend it. I mean, dude, obviously go. It's it's a lot of fun, and as far as a festival that gets tens of thousands of people every day, it's one of the more relaxed ones. And culturally quite eclectic.
It seems like every year they pick the hottest weekend for Pitchfork.
Specifically, yeah. It always is the same weekend, too. It's kind of amazing that they plan it that way.
Wicked hot in Pitchfork.
Do you go to Pitchfork?
No, but every time I hear about it, or I've had roommates that go, and it's just like, dude, it's like really hot. You're going to go there the whole day?
Yeah.
It seems like every weekend they do it.
So Pitchfork, you said it's at Union Park, and that Union Park is...
Union Park is on the west side. It's not too far from where we are now.
That is correct.
Yeah,
I walk through Union Park sometimes when I drive here. Remember, D knows where I park. All right, so give folks a sense of the lineup for you.
So you mentioned the Isley Brothers. Mm-hmm. They're doing a 60th anniversary celebration, but really it's the 60th anniversary of their first album. They'd been around longer than 60 years at this point.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
60 years ago?
Yeah.
Good God, am I old?
I didn't want to say anything.
Oh, my God. The Isley Brothers' first album was, I did not know that, 60 years ago? Help me with the math. You're better at math than I am.
So I'm told 60 years ago, yeah.
So 60 years would have been 1959, is that correct?
That's correct.
Get the brain on Brad. Wow, 60 years ago. Damn, I've been in the Isley Brothers since about the mid-60s, I want to say. So I didn't realize they'd already been at it for a while. And there's only 2 Isley Brothers at the moment.
Yes, I'm sure there's going to be more people with them, though.
Well, the last time I saw them, it seemed as though there were the 2 Isley, Ronnie and Ernie. I don't know how familiar you are with the Isley Brothers. And then there were local musicians that they had assembled from the Chicago area that were playing their backup. And my guess is that's what they do wherever they go.
Yeah. I mean, they have the money to do that. And that's a pretty great way to invest in the communities that you're performing in. But I think it also depends on the occasion. It'd be cool if that happens this weekend, but I'm honestly not sure if that will be the case.
Yeah, or maybe also so cynical here and jaded from covering Chicago politics. You don't have to pay them as much if you pay the regular band that goes with you on the tour. Then you have to pay the hotels and you have to pay.
Well, sure. That is a cynical way, but
I'm so cynical.
It depends on the person. Aside of an aside, Philip Montoro, the music editor, his brother Craig is also, both of them are musicians, and Craig at one point was part of Sufjan Stevens' band as Sufjan was starting to become big, and has always remarked about how well Sufjan treated his band and made sure everyone got paid equally. So it's, they're nice people in this field.
Yeah, can you imagine if I were covering music? Like, for instance, the Rolling Stones, tangent within a tangent within a tangent. I don't know if you know this. They have like the Rolling Stone members of the Rolling Stones, so they like a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
And there's 4 of them. And then there's the bass player who comes from Chicago, and he doesn't get a piece of the pie, as I understand it. Did you know that?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. It's upsetting and sad, but it's not surprising.
Cynical, jaded view of a political reporter if he ever wrote about music. All right, talk about some of the other acts, other than the non-Ben acts.
The non-Ben acts. So, we already covered the one.
And the Isley Brothers haven't reached out for you to play the air organ?
No, I would play air guitar with the Isley Brothers. Ernie Isley, I love Ernie Isley. I could go on and on, Leor. I know you don't want to hear me waxing about Ernie Isley. And when I came out of high school, Ernie was like this. He was a super cool guy. He had the thing he wore around his head.
I think he still does.
Yeah, he does that. But I thought it was like, whoa, man, it's like Jimi Hendrix, lives, and it's Ernie Isley, and who's that lady? And I would play her. I know I could to this moment play air guitar every lick.
So you're coming, right?
No, I saw him 2 years ago. His Summer Breeze. All right, all you youngsters out there, man, when he plays Summer Breeze, which is a song none of you ever heard of, I could do that right now. Can I do it?
I've heard of it.
I've heard Summer Breeze.
Yeah.
I'm not singing it.
Sing Summer Breeze.
I'm not singing it.
All right.
Let's find out the rest of these.
We are,
the ends of
before we
Pitchfork.
go on for 10 trivia points, Summer Breeze is a cover. Who did the original Summer Breeze?
It's God. What's the name of that American? Is it America? It's some yacht rock band that I'm forgetting the name of.
He just threw him under the yacht. But it is a yacht rock band.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, what is yacht rock?
Yacht
That's
rock is
something new.
basically soft. It's like soft soul that's played largely by white men.
But why do they call it yacht rock?
There's something
Yachty about it?
Yeah, there's something. There's like you can attribute it to wealth. There's something relaxing about it, but also it seems to be only attainable if you're able to afford a yacht, or at least that's a impression of a lifestyle.
I actually don't think this band is technically a yacht rock band, but I don't know because I didn't even know what yacht rock is. Do you give up?
It's something. Yes.
Seals and Croft.
Oh, that's right.
Leah knew that.
Yeah,
She
that's
knew that.
definitely yacht
Oh
rock.
my god! No one in this room is impressed.
I told you, Leo. 79, man, I know all that stuff.
I was right though. It is yacht rock.
You know, I just not quite. I concede that they're soft and they don't really have a strong sound. And there was always this notion in the 70s that there were these mediocre songs, but then when the Isley Brothers did this, they sounded really good.
Yeah.
And Summer Breeze by the Isley Brothers sounds so much better than Summer Breeze by Seals and Croft, particularly with that guitar solo. And then there is a great organ solo. I mean, I'm going to
All these cool bands of 2019 playing. He just keeps going on the Isley Brothers.
You should come, Ben.
I love the Isley Brothers. I just love them to death. But no, I already saw them 2 years ago. I'm not going to Pitchfork. It's going to be blistering hot. Be hanging around with all these Pitchforkians. Who let you in, sir? Anyway, so who else? Who else do we know about?
So the main headliner on Sunday night is Robin, who is a terrific pop musician. She's actually, last time she played the festival, it was Friday afternoon in 2010, which was the first time that I actually went. And yeah, she makes great pop songs. Her last album has it's called Honey. It has like a few of the songs have like a house touch to them. Mm-hmm. It feels very familiar if you grew up with house music. Yeah, she's a remarkable performer.
Just in like the last 5-6 years, she had like a comeback, right? I remember Robin back in the day, like the 90s.
Yeah, she has been going for decades, and
In America, really, though, she had kind of like a comeback, right?
Yes,
There was a period there where no one really talked about her.
Yeah, she headlined Pritzker Pavilion 3 years ago, I want to say. At some point within the past 3 to 5 years.
You know, I had her first album.
No, you didn't.
Leah, do you
So
know
you're
Robin?
coming, right?
No, I think wait, if I'm not going to go see the Isleys, why would I go see Robin?
Because you haven't seen her.
Oh, that's true. I have seen the Isleys like 5 times. Who's that lady?
Here he goes.
That's what I came for.
Yeah. I may go see Robin, all right?
There we go, there we
My
go.
wife probably likes Robin, you know. My wife has got a lot more eclectic taste than I do. She's actually listened to music after 79, which is why we saw it in the
It's
article.
allowed.
Yeah, it's permitted.
Yeah.
So anyway, who else besides Robin?
Oh man. So before the Isley Brothers on Saturday, there's Bell and Sebastian playing if you're feeling sinister, which is their
Bell and Sebastian. That is a name I've heard.
Yeah.
How have I known that name? Bell and Sebastian.
You're going, right, Ben? This is just me. This is turning into me trying to convince Ben to go to this festival.
Well, I got a Bell and Sebastian tattoo last week. I don't know if I showed that to you. No, what has Bell and Sebastian done? I've heard. Leah, you ever heard of Bell and Sebastian? No. Strike it out with
Quit
Leah.
going for her to bail you out, dude.
I mean, this album came out in 97, 98. The album that they're playing in full, and
Well, they've been around a while.
they've been around a while. Yeah, I mean that was right at the beginning of their career, but it's very much iconic, for lack of a better term. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it is representative of like the twee indie rock aesthetic.
You like that kind of music?
It's okay.
Yeah, just okay.
I mean, it's not like I'm familiar with it. I could tell you if a Bell and Sebastian song is playing, but
Could you immediately identify? If we put on a Bell and Sebastian song right now,
probably not, because they have so many albums
Yeah.
and I've only listened to a few of them, and I've quickly realized that wasn't my main.
But somehow, some way, I know the name Balance, and I'm not even sure how I know the name.
Because they have achieved that level of international renown. And I do think their music is good. It's just not something that I listen to that frequently.
Are you going to go to see them play?
Yeah. They're on right before the Isleys on
and
a
you're-
stage that is essentially right next to.
By the way, not to continually bring the topic of conversation back to the Isley Brothers, but will you be watching them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this sounds rude. There's nobody else that's going to be performing at that time. They're the headliners for that night. But I could leave, but I'm not going to because I do want to see the Isley
Have you ever
Brothers.
seen them before?
No, I haven't.
Are you going to write about them afterwards?
No, I'm not.
I would really love to read your thoughts.
Well, I mean, if something changes, but Philip has already given out the assignments for who is going to be writing about what, and I'm not going to ruin.
Do you know
that for
who?
everyone.
Oh, so you're not going to tell us?
I'm not going to tell you what's happening. Yeah,
No,
you have to look at the website. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know Mario did a story about the Isley Brothers for the Reader. Did he not?
No, it wasn't Mario. Now I'm struggling, but there is a story about
James Porter.
Yeah.
James Porter wrote about the Isley Brothers, and Mario did an interview with someone, and I can't remember now who it was with. But
Which Mario?
Mario Smith.
I interviewed Mario Smith for the Silver Room Block Party story.
Oh, that was you interviewing Mario? I
Yeah.
thought that was Mario interviewing someone else.
No.
Yeah, Mario Smith, the great Mario Smith, who
Yeah.
has who can also get political and has his own radio show, or used to, WH.
He's got a show on Lumpen now. But yeah,
Lumpen.
he'd been on WHBK before WHBK.
And I used to many years ago have a show on WHBK, which is like not known except by me. Anyway,
Wait, when was the show?
this show I did it with a guy named Devin Thompson, my good
bastard.
friend Devin.
Sorry, just kidding.
What's the matter with Devin? Was a guest on this show once.
Oh.
And that's how I met Adolfo.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because he had the show, mariachi music show right after mine.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Sergio Mims, because he had the classical music show right before mine. And
Yeah.
then we'd come on and...
So wait, when was this?
the O's. It was sometime in the O's. My
gotcha.
kids were in high school.
Yeah.
It was the O's. That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
The
so this
O's.
was after the Common Kanye battle on WHBK in the 90s.
Yes, long after. I wasn't even aware of that. It was long after that.
There's a lot of history at that radio station.
Yes, there is. I was unaware of. What was that battle? Talk
That was
about
like 96, 97.
What happened?
I actually don't remember. It was just an on-air freestyle battle. WHBK was the first. It might be the first radio station in Chicago to play hip hop on the air in '84, starting in 1984. But it was for a long time the only radio station in Chicago that would play local hip hop. So Common would frequently go on the air and like rap, do freestyles on the air.
Well, I can tell you, we were not doing rap on our show. We were talking politics and sports, that kind of thing. All right. So what else should we know about Pitchfork?
Mavis Staples is performing Friday.
Oh, I did not know that.
See, I'm trying to convince Ben. At this point, I'm just
Mavis
telling.
Staples speaking my language.
Yeah, you got to come.
Are you going to go see that one?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah, Mavis Staples.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen her before?
I have. She's a phenomenal performer.
Wow.
And she put out an album a few months ago. So she is tireless. She's remarkable.
Well, that would almost be enough to get that, and the Isley Brothers are two acts that I would go see if I was going to go to Pitchfork.
You can.
I think there's a movie that night I'm going to be watching. Anyway,
There's a movie that night.
I think I'm going to watch Yesterday for the third time. Have you seen Yesterday yet?
No.
Do you have any ambitions and desires? to
At
see
some
it?
point when I don't have to pay for it.
Well, you always are going to have to pay for
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
All right?
Unless
So-
a friend buys it.
Yeah, right. You
Fire
bootleg
stick
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Fire my good friend Antonio. I have a friend from a previous radio station. I can't remember the name of the station, D.
And I fired you. Is there a band you're most excited to see?
I am particularly excited for Stereolab, which is a British/French group that was around in the 90s for a very long time, and I forget when they broke up, but they reunited this year. I've never seen them before. They mix like krautrock and lounge and indie rock, and I think their stuff is really fantastic.
And when are they playing?
They're playing Saturday on the same stage as the Isley Brothers before the Isley Brothers.
So you're definitely going to see that.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's a small, the footprint for Pitchfork is fairly small. It's really manageable. It's so easy to get from one place to the next.
And when does it open? Every day?
It starts, tomorrow gates open at either noon or 1 p.m. and then and Saturday and Sunday noon to 10. But the performances don't start till about 1 p.m.
And so are you there from noon start?
Yeah.
And you're all day?
I'm all day. Yeah. It's, it feels like it's a communal event. There's like a record fort where there are a lot of local labels that show up to sell music, and that's a good place to talk shop with people that I write about on the regular. There are a lot of local acts, and almost all of them are playing at the beginning of the day, which I think is unfair. And I would like to see them play later for larger crowds that might not be aware of them. But it's great to get in early and just get a sense of the place before tens of thousands of people show up.
Tens of thousands of people will be showing up for the Isley Brothers, definitely.
Well, and Ben, if you don't make it, you could watch it online too. They still do that, right? You can just go online and watch it.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a stream.
Yeah.
You can live stream it.
Yeah.
Look at the brain on Brad over there.
35. All right, I kind of get this stuff too.
But no, that would not be that. Come on. No, I'm just going to throw this out there. That's like saying I watch Woodstock. Live. You got to go out there and deal with the elements.
Yeah, you
right?
got to go out there, Ben. You got to come.
I think I have to go see Yesterday again. The
but
Beatles.
You can come see Maya's favorite rapper, Pusha T.
I did not know Maya had a favorite rapper.
Yeah.
He's your Pusha.
Yeah, Pusha T.
Do you know Pusha?
That was a reference.
Oh, I see. Well, I have to miss that one. When is that?
Pusha T was originally scheduled for Saturday, but it looks like he's playing Friday now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before Mavis, actually.
Well, I may have to see Mavis. So wait, time out.
See?
Now I'm going to ask a question. This shows I'm unafraid to ask a question. I'll show my abundant ignorance. Okay.
Yeah.
So can you just show up for the Isley Brothers? Do you have to?
You have to pay.
No, I know you have to pay
for that day.
Ticket.
Yeah, so you have to pay for the full day. But they don't reach a limit where they go, well, we're not letting anybody else in.
Yeah, when a festival sells out, they don't let anyone else in.
Yeah, so you can't just walk in to see the Isley
you
Brothers.
can't just walk in, but you can get a press pass.
No, that, come on. I don't go there. I'm not getting a press pass to go to bed. That would be so, that would be Trump-like. You know what I'm saying?
Why?
To get a press, I would never, because I'm not going to be writing about it unless I'm writing an article about how ignorant I am on music. Which,
Yeah, why
by
not?
the way,
That'd be a good read.
Yeah, it would be a pretty funny read. All right, before we bring on the great Jeff Johnson, who's sitting there, he loves the Isley Brothers, I want to say. Yeah, he's nodding his head. Any last groups that we should know about or performers that we should know about that you haven't mentioned?
Oh, man. There are about 12 locals performing, and I recommend...
Speaking of, last year, a group that was on our show, the Curls, they were at Pitchfork. Are they going to be there this year?
They're not
All right.
performing this year.
All right.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
They're
great.
not. Yeah.
Are you a
but
fan of the Curls?
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
Listeners, regular listeners of the band. In fact, they came on our show and they performed. There we go. All right.
And they did like a Beatles cover. It was great.
For me, they did a Beatles. Ben, we'll do a song for an old guy. Here we go.
If I were to tell you that all the acts are doing Beatles covers, would you go?
That's kind of the premise of Yesterday. Can we talk about Yesterday for the next hour? Anyway.
Ben, you're unhip, and then we kind of knew it the whole time.
But I'm thinking about Mavis Staples. Mavis Staples is one of my favorites. I haven't seen her since the 90s, I want to say.
She's tomorrow night.
Yeah.
She's performing tomorrow night. Right after Pusha T.
I'm not seeing a movie, so. Anyway, Leor Galil from the Chicago Reader. We're going to bring you back for, we can have the same exact conversation for Lollapalooza. How about that?
Yeah.
And,
the Isley Brothers won't be there.
They won't be there.
but don't they have a geezer act?
If you call Lil Wayne a geezer act, I think he might be.
No, that's not geezer act is if I know him.
I know. Yeah.
More like if I'm 35, there'd be like geezer acts for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Paul McCartney was, I think, the last geezer act they booked.
Speaking of Yesterday, and let's talk about Yesterday a little more. All right, Leor Galil and the Chicago Reader music writer, and I urge everybody to check out this week's Reader. It's got all the articles in for interviews, etc., about not just Pitchfork, but the Silver Room Sound System, Block Party, and Hyde Park. Thanks for coming on, Leor. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me. And Comics Con.
And we have, yes, very good. Jeff Johnson on deck. We're going to bring him on when we return.
Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. See the city from a whole new angle on a Chicago Architecture Center tour. With more than 85 tours to choose from, there are endless stories to discover. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm on a tour. Oh my, what magnificent architecture! Get a special discount for Illinois residents from July 15th to August 15th. All Illinois residents get 50% off select walking tours. Visit architecture.org/IL-resident.
Did you know that 40% of the people in Illinois opt to be cremated? Well, it's true. And Chicagoland Cremation Options honors their wishes by providing cremation services directly to the general public. Chicagoland Cremation Options provides an affordable, ethical, and easy cremation arrangement, whether in person or online. Save thousands and streamline the process by going directly to Chicagoland Cremation Options. It's a family-owned business operated by my good friend, Douglas Klein. Here's how you reach them. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com. One more time. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com.
It's Chicagoland's adult entertainment playground. It's the world-famous Admiral Theater, 3940 West Lawrence Avenue. The Admiral is homegrown from Chicago, and it's the most conveniently located club in all of the city. 15 minutes from the O'Hare Airport in downtown Chicago Loop. Voted Chicago's best strip club, the Admiral has showgirls galore and a variety of adult entertainment shows. The world-famous Admiral Theater, open every day from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., 3940 West Lawrence Avenue. For events, showtime, and other information, visit AdmiralX.com. Must be 18 years of age or older to enter.
All right, our friends and co-hosts at the Chicago Sun-Times are offering you, yes, you, our listeners, an exclusive deal on unlimited digital access to all of the stories that you love. Unlock every feature, video, and podcast, just like the Ben Joravsky Show, by signing up now for a digital subscription. For a limited time only, you can lock in our lowest rate yet, only $29.99 for a full year of all the news that you need to know. Stay up to date on breaking stories. Get the deep dives and investigations from Sun-Times reporters. Cheer for the big game with the best sports team in the city. And go deep inside City Hall with best in-class political reporting. Fran the Wellman Spielman as well. $29.99 for a full year of unlimited access. You can't do better than that. Take advantage of this exclusive deal now at suntimes.com/Ben.
Mexico, we're getting along with them great. Marcelo and the president and all of them, we're getting along great. They've started a very strong action. They're moving right now 6,000 soldiers to their southern border. Who ever heard of that? Do you think we had that 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, I'll tell you what we had. We had nothing. Now look, Nancy is a mess. The Democratic Party is a mess. They're doing everything they can to win the election in 2020. They are guilty of many crimes, many crimes, what they've done. They're guilty of many crimes. And hopefully in a short period of time, that'll be seen. They should never have done what they've done. And all they do is waste time on these investigations where there's no obstruction, no collusion, no nothing. And in the meantime, they can't get a border deal done. They can't do anything.
All right, the Ben Joravsky Show, hour number 2 for your Thursday, July 18th is just moments away. But before we get into that, we need to thank the following unions once again for jumping on board and helping bring back our program. First up, it's the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 and District 8, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. A giant thank you to those unions for jumping on board and helping bring back our program. Much appreciated. And of course, today's program is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Hour number 2, let's go. It is Thursday, July 18th, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. In this hour of the program, it's the return of Union Man and pension guru, the one, the only, Jeff Johnson. And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist, Ben Joravsky.
Yes, indeed. Jeff Johnson's in the studio with me. The man knows more about pensions than anyone alive. Somebody picking his brain for a little while on this issue. Folks, got to pay him. Can't just ignore him. Can't just shove it under the carpet.
Can't walk away from him.
Can't walk away. Well, a lot of politicians, Jeff, have tried that. They've tried
They keep
that.
coming back.
They keep coming back. So we'll take the deep dive in that and many other issues. They ask about casinos. May ask about the O'Hare, the deals that just went down at O'Hare. Happy to see that they recognize the unions at O'Hare, and they signed a deal, a collective bargaining agreement. Well, and let's see, presidential race, presidential politics. Updates from Jeff Johnson. And lots of political issues to talk about. Before we do that, D, you got an update for me?
Yeah, we got a national news update here. The madness will not end. Donald Trump today took to Twitter to slam Puerto Rican Governor Ricardo Rosello, who is facing demands for his resignation after a string of leaked text messages showed him making misogynistic and homophobic comments. He trashed San Juan mayor as well, saying, quote, "A lot of bad things are happening in Puerto Rico. The governor is under siege. The mayor of San Juan is a despicable and incompetent person who I wouldn't trust under any circumstance." Wow. And the United States Congress foolishly gave $92 billion for hurricane relief, much of which was squandered away or wasted, never to be seen again.
Wow. Donald Trump is tripling down.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is his strategy. This is what he's going for, Jeff.
Pot meet Mr. Kettle, right?
Yeah. And, in terms of despicable. But anyway, wow, that Donald Trump. And, of course, when the hurricane hit, he wanted to get credit for helping out. And now he's saying they wasted the money. They shouldn't give it to him in the first place. He's playing this game to the end.
And one more update here. More response to Donald Trump's comments and the supporters' comments from last night's rally.
Representative Ilhan Omar. Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
One of the four congresswomen, known as the Squad, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has weighed in on Donald Trump's rally and the president's attack on her colleague and fellow member Representative Ilhan Omar, saying, quote, "The president put millions of Americans in danger last night. His rhetoric is endangering lots of people. This is not just about threats to individual members of Congress, but it is about creating a volatile environment in this country through violent rhetoric that puts anyone like Ilhan, anyone who believes in the rights of all people, in danger." And I think that he has a responsibility for that environment.
Yeah, well, I mean, she makes a good point. When you get a crowd of people chanting, "Send her back," it was like "lock them up" chants of 2016. I was always uncomfortable with that. I remember the Republican National Convention was Michael Flynn, who began the chanting, or got the chanting was going during his speech. He may have been the guy who actually started it. I can't recall. But there was chanting going on his speech, and now it's a recurring theme in a Trump rally. If he mentions Hillary Clinton, this is 3 years, Jeff, after the election. They still want to lock her up. And so, it's kind of scary thing when you get so many people lock her up, send her back, that you're edging toward violence, if you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But apparently this is his sense that this is what is going to get him reelected.
It fires the voters up in his eyes.
In his base. All right, Jeff Johnson, let's start off with casinos before we get to pensions. We talked about this earlier today. Mayor Lightfoot came up with a list of 5 possible sites for Chicago casinos, focusing on the south and west sides. I'm looking at the front page of the Sun-Times. What's your sense of, is there a favorite site, do you think? Is there a good best site for it? What's your attitude about this?
I don't know. I think when she threw out 5 of the sites, the ones down by Harborside Golf Course and the ones like on the or the old steel facility and everything. The Harborside one, that really kind of threw me for a loop. Like, why are you going to put it so close to Indiana? And people are already driving out to Indiana. Like, and I get you're trying to take away from that aspect, but it's a little too close to me. It's important to remember that for the casino bill, the police and fire pension bill, SB 777, the language in there, 75% of revenue will go to the police fund, 25% will go to the fire pension fund. And so, it's the money's there already dedicated. And people have to remember, because they're seeing new revenue come in and they got cash signs in their eyes of what can I spend it on? This is money already dedicated. I've always liked it closer to downtown, as far as just siphon off of that. But there was that report in the Sun-Times, I think it was Sunday, for the neighborhood guy who talked about how casinos, casinos are usually islands upon themselves. They don't bring in like a neighborhood gentrification or a neighborhood redevelopment. You go, you drive in, drive out.
Yeah.
And so that kind of had me kind of a little at first like, oh, it's got to be somewhere near an entertainment district. Now I'm like, well, that made sense to me all in all, as far as you drive in and then get out. But I always like close to Wintrust, close to McCormick Place. And I get the viewpoint a little bit of trying to take, you might take away from some of the conference, like the people at the conference. Hey, if they're at a conference and they want to leave and spend their money in Chicago, God bless them. Yeah. Sorry, that's not for us to parent them. If I had to put money right now on a casino, ta-ting, I'm going by the hospital site. Michael Reese.
Michael Reese?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to go Michael Reese.
Well, the local alderman has already come out against
that. Yeah, and that's what's interesting. Like, people were coming out against it.
Yeah.
Anything new in my ward, I'd welcome it. Come on down. You want to build a what? Sure, come on down. The jobs it's going to create just for the union jobs of building it, and then some of the whole island aspect of the casino. It'll still generate some revenue in your ward.
All right, well, here's the cynic in me. I'm going to get to the point about the dedicated to the pensions in a little while, but I've already stated this, so I'm going to repeat myself. The cynic in me, I don't believe the site is on that list. And this is the one thing, they don't have to pick a site that's on that list.
Exactly.
So this is the So Chicago, Jeff. This is the So Chicago. Everybody will weigh in on this site and that site, and the neighborhood opposition will kill that site, neighborhood opposition will kill that one, site. Blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, well, guess what? This one right here. That's the cynic. I mean, you're looking like, I don't know, Ben, if I believe you on that one. But I have a hunch that there's a site that they haven't put on the table yet.
And, do you have any...
my guess is, and I read the same column by Zadi that you alluded to. It's in the Sun-Times, folks, if you want to go check it out. He was laying out all the different theories as to what's the most beneficial site to put a casino. To repeat what Jeff was saying, is that there's a theory of economic development that it's not a good idea to put a casino in an area that needs a jolt, because a casino is like a fortress. People just go in and then they go out. And generally when they go out, as I said earlier, they have no money, because a whole way a casino is set up, Jeff, I don't know if you've ever been to a casino, it's set up so you lose. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you may have been the one guy that won,
No,
but
God, no.
most people, 9 out of 10, that's how casinos make their money.
Exactly. And, you look at other cities where in Cleveland, for example, Cleveland is a good, where they put a casino into an old existing building in the middle of their downtown area. And for the most part, you walk by it, you might miss it. But they got the hotel right there, the baseball stadium's right down the street. And in their downtown central business district, if they have one, no knock on Cleveland.
I just ripped Cleveland, but go ahead.
But I like Cleveland. I'm a fan of Cleveland. But in an old downtown building, they renovated it, and it's 4 stories on a corner right in the downtown area. And it does good money. It does good revenue. And the one thing that came up, Block 37. Right, the old building. I've been thinking about that for, hey, you could throw that bad boy right in the middle of downtown, and just the walk-through traffic alone of like, hey, what are you doing? Let's go to the casino. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the argument for a casino being downtown, and that's why I think ultimately it'll go into a centrally located part, building. Either now the McCormick Place is another one where our people say we should put it in McCormick
Just
Place.
put it in the old
McCormick Place instead of tearing it down.
Yeah.
Instead of spending the money to tear it down, why don't we just refurbish it?
Just throw it in there. Yeah.
That makes sense too. But again, Wazadi was pretty convincing in this article that was in the Sun-Times that it doesn't really do any good for a neighborhood that really could use a shot in the arm.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you're correct. There's jobs to be created, the one-time jobs of building the thing. And then there's the jobs within the casino, the people who run the tables, etc. But it doesn't have a spark for adjoining. So I don't know, what the purpose of using it as an economic development stimulus if there's no stimulus of economic development.
But now, what's your thoughts on SB 777 and the dedicated revenue for the pensions?
I was going to ask you that. We had Jason Grotto on about. We haven't aired it yet. Oh, no, it aired this Saturday. What am I saying? Jason Grotto is a ProPublica reporter who has taken the deep dive on the gambling issues and the gaming bill that just was passed in the Springfield, which is why we can have a casino in the city of Chicago. But I was not aware of that specific technicality, so go into that a little more. He was talking about how we're already starting to borrow against the gambling revenue, and the money hasn't even come in. The state of Illinois will be using the potential gaming revenues to borrow against. So they could tell people, all right, we can pay you back with the revenues that we've got, which we haven't received yet. So, but talk a little bit about dedicating the money to pension funds. Exactly what's that mean?
So there was a previous bill, so 5 years previous, so 10 years, actually, 5 years, 10 years, where they were going to ramp up the funding to the police and fire pension funds. And in 5 years, at the end of this 5-year ramp where they're paying more and more and more, they were going to pay them what's called actuarial required contributions or actuarial determined contributions. And then 5 years came, and I got to say, this was, still in their daily, actually. 5 years came, and they didn't want to raise the revenue for it, and so part of the deal was, okay, you're on a 5-year ramp, and then we're going to give you what you should get paid. How about this? We extend the ramp another 5 years, but for consideration of kind of easing this pain.
I remember this, yeah.
We'll give you the revenue from a Chicago casino if it ever happens. Ha ha ha! You'll get it. Yeah. But here, sign off on this. And at the time, it was one of those pipe dreams. But for whatever reason, it was always floated out there.
Yeah.
And FOP and Local 2 went, you know what? Sure.
Local 2 being the firefighters.
And sure, we will take the revenue. We will gladly take the revenue from a casino. And it was always one of those things floated out there. Ha ha, maybe not. Just got killed downstate. And then finally, it got traction. And now you have firemen and policemen unions going, page 37 of the bill right here. Just remember, boys, that's our money.
So time out. Help me out on this one. Jeff Johnson, pension expert. So you're saying this is a previous bill that still applies to the gambling bill. It's not specifically written in the new gambling bill, but the old bill still applies. The old pension bills, SB 777 is the bill, and in it says any revenue generated from towards the city of Chicago is dedicated towards police and fire pension funds. Wow. Now, so any revenue.
Well, you get into a question, right? And like the one question that they haven't even really gotten into yet was a city-owned casino gets 100%, right? Or basically the state gets X amount, the city gets X amount. But when you go through a private contractor to manage it, well, that's 30% of the revenue taken off the books right now. And I know they're kind of looking at like how that plays into things, but still, the city cut of the revenue is supposed
goes. Wait, so my understanding is a third.
So a third. You look at the biggest or the latest numbers I have for Rivers was something like $420 million, and that was 2 years ago.
What do you mean? What's the 420 annual take?
Yeah. The annual take was $420 million because of people like me and you losing.
Yeah. Suckers losing, man.
And so if you break it up that way, as far as a third, you're still looking at 150 or God less than that, 125 or so. Yeah. And what that will do is it'll this is the year that the city owes $289 million to police and fire pension funds because they're
How much?
289.
Okay.
They're at year 5 of their ramp, where the ramp they were paying a little more, and it was basically if you're paying a credit card and like, oh, we're just going to give you a little more,
Yeah.
and in year 6, I'll start to pay off the debt finally. And they're at year 6 coming up in this budget for next year. So they owe $289 million, and the numbers are roughly, I think it's like 180 for police and 110 for fire, something like that. But it's broken up that way. And so when they start having to pay that, that's what it's in the state law, SB 777, that says you have to pay this money. And they're going to find the revenue for it because, I think they have to by bill. And that the fear has always been, will the city go down to Springfield and change the bill?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, and you some of like the cynical people go, I've never seen a bill that's worth more than toilet paper, right? As far as what you write it on, you can go down there and change it, which is true.
Absolutely true.
And I think I just here's me just trying to be the dreamer of the group.
Okay, dreamer.
Yeah, dreamer. That there's enough attention on pensions.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that if you went down to Springfield and said, you know what, we're going to kick that can out, or police and fire 10 years into their ramp payments, let's kick it out for another 5 and just kind of slightly, the investment groups would kick the city in the teeth on this. Your Moody's, your S&P, your Fitches. Now, there's enough of kicking the can. You have to address this issue. And then once the casino bill comes online finally, and you can take some of that revenue, $150, $200 million, whatever it is, to pay towards police and fire, it's going to free up revenue for the Muni Fund, for Labor's Fund, for the other funds, as far as,
the property tax dollars.
Yes.
That's the revenue you're talking
exactly.
about.
It frees up the property taxes because for how long there was no such thing as new revenue.
Yeah.
You had to just play with what you had. So now you have new revenue coming online with marijuana, with sports books, with
Wait,
the
time
casino.
out. So just so I know this, understand this, sports books money is not dedicated to the pensions.
No.
Just the casino.
Just the casino.
One casino. The
The
city of Chicago.
city-owned casino, yes. Ace.
A city-owned?
Yeah, well, you might start getting it.
The lawyers are going to get into
The
this
lawyers might
one.
get into this, but yeah.
City-owned. It has to be city-owned.
Don't quote me. I haven't looked at the language around, but a city casino.
A city casino.
We'll just stick with city casino.
Because, see, here's the situation. And you know this, Jeff Johnson. It's not just cynical, jaded old me. Once money comes available, politicians want to
Find
spend
other
it
ways.
because you have immediate obligations that you have to pay just to keep things going. You got to repave the streets, or you got to pay the budget, you got to pay the police. The pension thing is like, that is so easy to kick it down the road. So the temptation to use, we don't even have the casino yet.
Exactly.
Right?
We're arguing over it.
We don't even have the casino yet. But the temptation to use them, but they could borrow. You watch, they're going to borrow against it. That's what Grotto was telling me, that there's potential that you anticipate the money that's coming in.
Yeah.
You tell the borrowers, we'll pay you back with the.
Well, that, or you could shell game it in your budget. Yeah, we're gonna get $300 million, so we could just take that off the budget. Here you go, and whatever. And then at the end of the year, where's the money? Oh yeah, by the way, we didn't get it. But I think we've come to a tipping point on pensions, where for years and years and years they were able to kick the can.
Yeah.
But we're at this tipping point now. There's so much attention. 20 years ago, if you walked, you asked your average citizen, like, hey, are pensions a problem? They'd be like, for who? For what? Huh? But nowadays, your average citizen, are pensions a problem? Oh yeah, they're a problem. We need to fix it. And so I say fix it, but the general public has a wide-ranging view. But any type of kicking the can on pensions nowadays, I think will get a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
From unions, from politicians even nowadays. And like you said, it's in their nature. New money. Like I said, they've never had new money for how long? And what can we spend it on? I'm up for re-election, and what can we give? It's the bills coming due on things, and we got to pay the bill. And I think that's where you're going to find that enough people keeping attention on it will force them.
Well, we're talking about if your math holds. So $425 million is what that casino in Des Plaines.
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. So let's say it's 450. Let's say it's 150. Just back of envelope math.
Yeah.
Although again, this casino would be competing with Hammond and competing with Des Plaines. So
I think there's a niche, especially closer to downtown.
well, that's why
there's
I'm
a
saying.
niche
I'm saying
for
if you
it.
really want to maximize the amount of money a casino gets, then I would put it downtown. Or McCormick Place, where the conventioneers are coming, and get them to throw their money away.
And
at
you
the
can go to
casino.
Wintrust and see a Garth Brooks concert, or see a concert and go to the casino, and go to downtown. They got the Bat Cave that was dedicated for McCormick Place, right there off the train tracks that runs from McCormick Place all the way to Randolph Street on its own underground, basically road.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see if that the neighborhood revolts again, because that's a growing residential area, and
exactly.
You don't know if it's going to revolt against having a casino.
And you got the one, town right off of by Soldier Field there, the mega project.
Boy, he's trying to put in there
right in the middle, right there. So you got that whole dynamic.
There we go. There's where the casino.
Put it over the train tracks.
Put it over the train tracks. Okay, we just committed. I don't know if you saw this. I forget how much money the state has targeted for that potential development. Which, by the way, there will be so much local opposition. Follow me on this one. Because follow me on this one. Right now, if you live in an apartment that is okay, we're talking about an area. Just back up. Of course, we're in a tangent with Jeff Johnson here. You have Soldier Field, you have Lakeshore Drive, you have the train tracks, and then you have a lot of residences. Okay, the proposal is to build a skyscraper community over the train tracks just west of Soldier Field. Okay, and the deal would be, in order to build the skyscraper community, you have to have a foundation it rests on. And so the developer, no dummy, said, "I know what I do. We need a transit terminal. You didn't know you needed one. You need a transit terminal." So we paid. We've already earmarked the money to build a transit terminal, which would be the platform that he builds a skyscraper on. If you know high-rise living and like the way I've seen it, anybody whose view is suddenly blocked by that skyscraper will be going to his or her alderman bellowing.
But Ben, hear me out on this. And I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority. I live 2 blocks from here in the West Loop.
Yeah.
There's a crane. There's every other block they're building something new.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly a defender of, wait, I bought here, you can't build over there, right? This is the view I bought. Like, you kind of buy with that, unless you own the air rights. Who the hell owns air rights nowadays, other than certain people? But yeah, you're not guaranteed that view
Absolutely.
forever. The city changes. So that argument of like, well, I had a nice view of the lake. Too bad. Buy in the new building.
Listen, you preaching to the choir in this one. Years ago, when you were still in grammar school, I would be writing NIMBY articles, okay, one after another, where people would be upset about a development deal, and I stopped writing them at some point because I was like, I had you know what, guys, you didn't complain when they paid over paradise to give you your thing.
Your building.
Yeah, your building. Now you're complaining, and so my attitude is sort of like, that's the law of the jungle, so to speak.
Exactly.
And,
Moving to the new building.
But I'm not the local alderman.
That's
who's
true.
Getting the heat
yeah.
and dealing with the calls. And so if it comes down to a vote in the city council, Jeff Johnson, in my humble opinion, you will see Alderman Prerogative go out the window on this deal. In other words, if it comes down to an issue where the local alderman says, I'm going to stand with my people against this high rise, and I'm going to say, vote against it, the mayor will twist the arms of the other alderman if the mayor thinks that it's worth her while.
Well, then it provides the local alderman with political cover to say, hey, I was against this. They can push it over my head, and it's a win-win because, if the residents that are angry in a couple of years aren't going to remember that about the mayor. You remember your local alderman that screwed you over on a development.
And guess what? There'll be a whole new community of people there who like the fact that they're there.
Exactly.
And on the next, when they redo the map, they'll take all the angry people out.
Just chisel them out. There you go.
Hey, baby, that's called Chicago politics.
Yep.
We got Jeff Johnson in the studio. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this. Hey, everybody. What you're about to hear are the piano stylings of Jeff man, listen to Jeff go. Jeff Manuel has been playing piano around Chicago for years. He's played for conventions, for celebrities, played in basement bars with blues bands. He's played at prestigious social clubs, fine restaurants, and in the intimacy of private homes. Book Jeff Manuel at jeffemanuelpianist.com. Don't worry, I'll spell his name at the end of this commercial. You know what Chicago Magazine said? They said that Jeff Manuel is, quote, as comfortable with Chopin as he is with Cole Porter. He's excellent and his performance is joyous. He offers an elegant stream of compositions and interpretations that entertains the mind but won't hurt the ears. To hear more of Jeff Manuel's work and to book Jeff for your next event, go to jeffmanuelpianist.com. I'm going to spell it out for you, people. Jeff, M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, UELPIANIST.com. Take it away, Jeff Manuel.
So here's how this has been working. The president says something and people cringe because you don't like it.
Today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by Green Element Resale. It's located at 6241 North Broadway in Chicago, and people, it is amazing. Furniture, appliances, lamps, books, clothes, electronics. It is a thrift shop, but it's the only thrift shop in Chicago that helps bring you the Ben Joravsky Show. So if you are ever on Broadway between Granville and Devon, stop in, maybe buy some stuff, and tell them thank you. And go check out Green Element Resale, 6241 North Broadway, and find more information at Green, Green, Element, E-L-E. Trying to help out those who can't spell today. E-L-E-M-E-N-T, resale, resale.com. It's Green Element Resale. Go and save tons of money. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Yes, Jeff Johnson in the studio with me, a fellow political junkie and guru, taking a deep dive in pension issues. I didn't know about this. I didn't know about SB 777. Maybe at one time I knew it and I forgot it. There's only so much stuff I can put in my brain, Jeff Johnson, and remember. But SB 777, SB means Senate Bill 777. That's right. And it dedicates the money that comes out of a Chicago pension to pay off the police and firefighters.
Chicago Casino.
What did I say? Yeah, because Chicago Casino. I think that's a great idea. I think that if we have these obligations, these fiscal obligations that we have to pay by law, no more messing around, no more kicking the can down the road, no more hoping that the Supreme Court will rule that you can cut pensions like a certain Mayor Rahm did, and talk about betting on a losing horse. No more of that baloney. Dedicate the money, pay your obligations. These cops and firefighters, they put in their time. They did their job. I'm a total believer in pensions. I wish everybody had a pension. Wish I had a pension. And I think that I didn't know about this SB 777 until you just told me. I probably did and forgot it.
Yeah, it was news for a while when they passed it, because it was some, like I said, some people were angry that they were extending like the ramp and kicking the can type thing. But the consolation was, well, you get your casino.
All right. Before we go further in this, D, you got an update for me?
Absolutely. Two updates here. One national, one local. We'll begin with the local news here. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle. The beef continues.
Oh, I saw this in the bright one. Yeah,
go Following on. Comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and the one and only Fran the Woe Man Spielman. Using sarcasm followed by an argument fit for a prosecutor, Mayor Lori Lightfoot fired back at Tony Preckwinkle Thursday for the vanquished mayoral challenger's attempt to exonerate county bail reform as a, quote, root cause for gun violence. The sarcasm came when Lightfoot referred to what she called the nice letter she had received from Preckwinkle about the issue. Clearly, the mayor believed otherwise and could not contain her anger about Preckwinkle's very public attempt to discredit the crime-fighting argument made by Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson and the mayor as well. We have a quote here. It says, "It's July, not March. The election's over, and we had a result," said Lightfoot, referring to her 74% landslide over Preckwinkle in the April 2nd runoff that saw Lightfoot sweep all 50 wards. The quote continues, "We're going to continue to take the high road and move forward, but there are legitimate issues that have been raised, and the superintendent, I think, is right to raise them."
All right. Now, this is an interesting dispute between Tony Preckwinkle, the president of the Cook County Board, and Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of the city of Chicago. And this all began last week, I want to say, when Eddie Johnson and Lori Lightfoot had a press conference. Eddie Johnson, the police superintendent, and they were talking about violence in the streets of Chicago. And Eddie Johnson said the problem are judges that let people just go back on the street without holding them, even though they have prior arrests. And so the same people are doing the same shooting.
Well, it's more of, I think they were pointing out Tim Evans and Miss Fox. I think that
Kim Fox.
Kim Fox was the attack more so.
But there was also the issue of judges letting people out on bail, continually letting them out on bail, and not holding them accountable. And so that was putting the onus on the Cook County and the judges. So Tony Preckwinkle, who's the head of Cook County, fires back by saying, well, hold it, guys. Studies show that people who commit the crimes are just like the number of people who are returnees out on bond are a very small segment of the people who commit the crime, so don't blame us. And the problem is that you don't have enough detectives to clear cases. So she kicked the ball right back to the city, and so now Lori Lightfoot is going to pretend as though she's I am not going to dignify that with the response. But politics, Jeff Johnson, it's politics. And you know what the reality is, D?
What?
Nobody knows how. We talked about this the other day. When we were talking about crime in the city of Chicago with the South Side political know-it-alls. Since I've been reading and thinking and living in the Chicago area, there have been murders in this city. This is a violent city, and nobody has figured out a way to like bring down the violence. It's been going on, Jeff Johnson, forever. And so now we have politicians feuding over which one is responsible and which one should be blamed more than the other. It really has nothing to do with all the root causes, all the problems here.
Well, yeah, and I find it interesting, like with the root causes of it, right? There's the theory that once they started doing RICO cases and going after Larry Hoover, Jeff Fort, those guys, and the thinking being that you take the head off the snake dies. Well, Chicago gangs weren't like the old mafia. What they did was, and where we're at kind of now, is there's really no structure in these gangs. And, gangster disciples that used to be on 67th to 68th who wouldn't fight because there was a hierarchy there and a structure, now are fighting each other because there is no structure. So you got 67th Street GDs fighting with 68th Street GDs, and the gangs are infighting each other. And it's all about, they've gone from the hierarchy structures of, if you were this gang, you'd talk to this gang or whatnot. Nowadays, it's all about money. And, each corner, right? So, like, the root cause of it, or like I say the root cause, but the cause of it, it kind of can be identified somewhat. And then you get into issues with jobs and education and, and so you have that whole little, like, pot. And then you get into a point of where, when you start arresting them, how do you treat them in the judicial system?
Yeah.
And, there's that tightrope to walk as far as, the small crimes that end up, for stupid stuff that you end up harming somebody for life.
Yep.
Versus the serious crimes of, what's considered serious.
Absolutely.
And that's where you're this tightrope of how do you handle it.
Yeah, and but I can guarantee you right now, this spat between Tony Preckwinkle and Lori Lightfoot really is not addressing. It's more like protecting interest, protecting political turf, that kind of thing, and just trying to shift blame. It's interesting. Lori Lightfoot was speaking more like Tony Preckwinkle when she was running for mayor. Now that she's mayor, and it's on her watch, she's sounding a little like Rahm Emanuel there in her view of the world.
And we have more blowback from the Donald Trump rally last night in North Carolina. We'll play that before the end of the show.
All right, very good. We're going to do a little presidential talk with Jeff Johnson. He's a political junkie. He's been following the election. You haven't been on the show since the debates, have you? I can't remember.
No.
Yeah, so I haven't asked you about the debate. Did you watch the debates?
Yes.
Okay, good. Some of my guests come on this show and they're like, "Oh, Ben, I am too good to watch the debates."
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, man, come on. Watch the debates.
Which guest was that an impression of?
I'm not saying. Several guests on the Ben Joravsky show.
How does he impersonate me when I'm not here?
Oh, my God, you should see it.
He does the impersonation of you.
I do have a good Jeff Johnson impersonation.
He does an unbelievable Jeff Johnson. My impersonation of you is my imitation of him imitating you.
Okay.
Which is like my imitation of Donald Trump is essentially Dr. D imitating Donald Trump.
I don't say anything bad, though.
What?
It's just an imitation.
Yeah.
Nothing bad.
Not bad.
The only imitation I do that's well, people tell me, is Bill Clinton. So anyway, all right, we're going back to the casinos. The casinos, if it comes to the city of Chicago, will raise money specifically for fire and police pensions.
As of today.
As of yes. As of today, because I wouldn't be surprised if right now there's a bill afoot to amend that. But we were saying off mic, we might as well say it on mic. The police union and the firefighters union will raise holy hell.
Oh yeah, and that's what I mean. That's why I'm fairly confident that you can't unwrite that. You can try, but they will raise a lot of heck about that as far as trying to take the money away from them because, they tell their members. I've heard them say, hey, we got the casino, guys. Okay, yeah, it's going to fund your pensions.
All right, so what about the people who don't have the casinos? And there's a lot of them out there.
Municipal fund, labor's fund. We are 3 years into our ramp where water and sewer tax is going towards the municipal fund, and the 911 tax increase is freeing up money for the laborers fund. And so 2023 is the big number for us when it comes year 2023. And that is what you're starting to see some attention on. Like, oh, yeah, you can fund the pensions now, but what are you going to do in 2023? And that's where the conversation's kind of at now. What's
the significance of 2023?
Like I said, police and fire had a 5-year ramp, then he kicked the can 5 more years where you're just paying a static dollar amount. Like, all right, I'll give you $100 million this year. I'll give you 200 next. I'll give you 300 next. I'll give you 400, then 500. And I'm just picking random numbers that are a little higher.
Yeah.
But year 6, then we'll go to the actual required contribution. So instead of what per se 500 million, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, then you're going to jump to 900 million. So you're going to have right. Well,
in 2023.
The exact numbers with the ramp numbers are a little off than what I'm quoting, but the numbers right now in 2023 for Muni, the municipal pension fund, and the laborers pension fund are $389 million.
A contribution that will have to be made in that 1 year, or is that more?
An increase.
Increase. I gotcha.
Yeah, water and sewer taxes are increasing for 5 straight years.
I gotcha.
The 911 tax is increasing for 5 straight years. It's year 6 that all those increases, okay, they max out, they stop, and then you're going to have to find an additional close to $400 million.
I got you. And so what's your bet? Will they increase water and sewer tax more to make?
I think it's going to be a hodgepodge of things. There's no $400 million chip sitting in the toolbox.
So 2023 would be an election year.
Yes, I know. That's funny how that plays out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you think that there was a coincidence that Rahm's administration had it where 2023, where the big chick came, if ran for re-election, would have been right at the end of that one? And
there are no coincidences with Rahm Emanuel. And you said something earlier, a tipping point of pensions.
Yes.
People are aware of them. I have this, the pension issue really emerged in a strong way. Jeff Johnson, is probably a little bit before your time. Mayor Daley was pushing for the Olympics to come to the city of Chicago. And the city of Chicago was essentially writing a blank check for the Olympics. Yeah. The city council gave approval to spend whatever money the Olympics would require. And remember, unlike countries that were applying for the Olympics, the city of Chicago was the sole we didn't have the country paying for the Olympics. It was the city of Chicago was going to pay for it. The country was going to kick in for security, as I recall. But the stadiums that we'd be building, most of the money expenditures were going to come from the taxpayers of the city of Chicago. Yeah. So in order to get everybody to sign on to that deal, they couldn't talk about something like pension obligations. You had to pretend like pension obligations didn't exist. This is before your time. I don't think you were involved in this stuff.
I was that was right around the time when I started getting involved in things. And what's funny now is, you talked about it previously, but we got out-corrupted on that deal.
Yeah, go for it, Brazil.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Out-corrupt Chicago.
Okay. Paid off somebody. Yeah, I know that story is emerging right now that people were paid off. And I'm like, yeah, good job, man. A little corruption helps. But anyway, so when we were trying to get the Olympics and pretend as though we could afford that massive amount of money, nobody talked about a pension obligation.
Well, see, and that's what you get into sometimes with some of these issues with pensions is that, like the Olympic bid would have put a ton of people to work from private sector unions. It would have created jobs for years building it, and then some of the demolition years after. So you had a way there to create jobs, create revenue, create middle class, just better it, up numbers. But from the public side of things, it was taking away resources that way. And that's where it's always that divide of, not always, but there's that public sector, private sector, where you got to walk that fine line of trying to do what's good for both your members, private or public. And, most unions do it really well as far as like, okay, we understand this issue, we understand this angle, and then, okay, we got our public pensions on this side. So it's a tightrope you have to walk.
No, I know that's the union side, but what I'm talking about is Civic Chicago and the civic leaders. Yeah. We're not talking about needing money for pension when we were signing off a blank check for the Olympics. As soon as we didn't get the Olympics, all of a sudden the same people were supporting Mayor Daley's Olympic driver saying, "Oh, what? We have these pension obligations. We have to cut. We can't afford them."
What year was that?
Well, the day we lost the Olympics in 2009. We finished 5th out of 5. Okay. Yeah. And by about 2010, suddenly I was reading articles. Funny how that happens. The same people who were cheering on Daley to sign off the check were the ones suddenly saying, we can't afford our pensions. We can't afford our pensions.
And that was kind of, now looking at it, that is kind of like it coincides when the property, the real estate bubble burst and the tech bubble started bursting. So the pensions were somewhat okay funded. And 08, 09 is when they had the market crash, and both bubbles burst at the same time. And so that's when you started to see the pension decline of the funding numbers. So it probably started getting a little more attention, but they were still well-funded at that time. So it's one of those where when you're a long-term investor, it takes a little bit for it to really go, oh, wait, this is really hurting us.
Now, another thing you've talked about, and you've explained, we've been on this show before, is that not all pensioners are going to receive the same pension. It all depends on when you started a job.
How long you were. We got the tier 2, tier 3s. And one of my, if you're a tier 3 and you're hired, say today, and start working for the city of Chicago, you pay 93% of your pension for your life. So you work until you're 65 years old and you're paying 11.5% right now. You're going to pay 93% of your entire pension benefit yourself. You're saving money hiring city workers doing that. Now there's some issues with tier 2, tier 3, whether or not it's legal because it violates the Safe Harbor Act, or people say it violates the Safe Harbor Act, where you pay more for a benefit. Like Social Security is built on, you pay 6.5 and then you get a benefit based off of that 6.5 for your life. The pensions, the way they did it, you're going to pay 11.5% and retire at 65. Well, you're paying 6.5 and retiring at 65 with Social Security. So there's some issues there on how that plays out.
Do you think there's going to be a chance that they're going to create another tier?
You have some states that are on literally tier 6 already. Yeah. And, the thinking is if you take a job and here, Ben, here's your benefits. Yeah. You want the job or not? Yeah. And that's why the defense is that, well, once you take the job knowing what your benefits are, you can't cut them. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and it's hard to tell these kids, like, hey, and I always say, I go around some of the job sites, and there's always the kid that raises his hand. Hey, the guys are telling me I'm in a different pension fund. I'm like, oh God, I know right where he's going. I'm like, no, you're not in a different pension fund. You're just in a different tier because you started after a certain time. And, but when you're younger, I say for the first 15, 20 years, when you're mostly at a city job, you're not thinking about your pension, Yeah. You're hearing the old guys talk about it and just ignoring them. So
yeah, no, people don't start thinking about getting old until they're like 40 at least. You know what I'm saying?
Kids are getting older, got a house, and what am I going to do when I retire?
We were just talking about this yesterday with Leah. Aziz Ansari has a comic. He's on Netflix. He's a comedian, and he has stand-up, and he's approaching 40. And in his routine, he's talking about his grandparents who have Alzheimer's and stuff. And I could tell that this is the first time that it crossed his mind.
Thinking about
hey, I'm getting old.
I'll be old.
Yeah, I'll be
exactly.
old too. And it's very moving, actually. Great bit. Jeff Johnson's my guest. We're gonna take a break. Come back, do a little presidential talk. We'll be right back.
Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. Get to know your city on one of Chicago Architecture Center's 65 walking tours. Hear the unforgettable secrets and stories behind Chicago architecture from our expert docents. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm actually on a tour right now. Oh, wow, look at that building. Get a special discount for Illinois residents from July 15th to August 15th. All Illinois residents get 50% off select walking tours. Visit architecture.org/IL-resident. Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan. Our friends at the Chicago Sun-Times are offering you, yes, you, our listeners, an exclusive deal on unlimited digital access to all of the stories that you love. Unlock every feature, video, and podcast, just like the Ben Joravsky Show, by signing up now for a digital subscription. For a limited time only, you can test out digital access for only $1. Whoa, that's crazy. Seriously, $1. 4 quarters. There's no reason to not give it a shot. Stay up to date on breaking stories. Get the deep dives and investigations from Sun-Times reporters. Cheer for the big games with the best sports team in the city. And go deep inside City Hall with best in-class political reporting. $1. I repeat, $1 for your first month. Jeff Johnson found something on the ground. What's that? Let me see. Oh, it's a pill.
That could be one of those pain pills.
Yeah, I had a root canal the other day. I probably dropped a pill. $1 for your first month. People, you cannot do better on that. Jeff Johnson, quit looking on the floor. Probably all kinds of stuff down there we don't want to talk about on the air. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show. Mr. Joravsky, take us home.
Yes, indeed. That super cool music means the end of another super cool show, but it's not done yet. Got Jeff Johnson in the studio. Not only is he a guru about pensions, not only does he know absolutely everything about politics, not only could he tell you the names of all 50 aldermen in the city council right now and the people they replaced. Not only can he do all that, D, not only did he graduate from Lane Tech High School, but he plays a mean piano, all right?
That's right, baby.
That's Jeff Johnson.
Tip your waiter.
And we'll talk a little presidential politics. But before we do that, 2 things. One, you have an update for us, young man.
Absolutely, I do. More blowback from the Trump rally yesterday in North Carolina. I know we don't. It's gross, but we got to talk about it, all right? First up, we have Marco Rubio. Remember that guy?
Marco Rubio, Senator from Florida.
Former 2016 presidential candidate. I have audio, but I'm just going to read it, all right? We don't waste our time with the audio with this guy. Marco Rubio puts, the tweet was wrong, and the chant, talking about Donald Trump's tweet from a few days back, the tweet was wrong, and the chant last night, grotesque. That chant being send her back. from the Trump rally last night. He says the left-wing politicians and many in the media demanding outrage are self-righteous hypocrites, and the outrage and response cycle allows for only two sides and demand you pick or else. It's a stupid game that I refuse to play.
Is that's the one? The beginning of the quote is contradicted by the end of the quote.
Yeah.
Just if you think it's grotesque, if you think it's horrendous, if you think it's despicable, say it. Don't feel then compelled to back off by blasting Omar. Just say, you know what, guys? It's a despicable thing to do to say send her back. Period. End of sentence. You know what I'm saying? That's that old cover thing.
Exactly.
Just like I was talking about Preckwinkle, cover for Preckwinkle, then Lori Lightfoot covering for Lightfoot. Anyway, come on, Mark. Show some.
Hey,
oh my goodness.
Watch it, buddy. The guests can curse, you can't.
No, I know. I never curse. I never curse on this show.
All right, and finally here, Donald Trump, he weighed in on the speech. I got to find the audio, so before we get out of here, I'll make sure to interrupt you guys and do that.
All right. Now, we have a segment of the show we do from time to time. I want to do it every day. Some days are better than others. And Leah, this Leah segment, don't you have an introduction for that, D?
Absolutely. It's great every day. It's our editor, Leah. She does such a good job for us here. We decided to give her own little segment. It is a segment that we like to call
Leah's Last Word.
All right. It's generally a question that Leah poses to our guest. Leah, take it away.
I'm nervous now.
You should be, buddy.
Well, you're about to talk about the Democratic candidates. Yeah. I was wondering which presidential candidate has demonstrated greatest support of unions.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, pretty close. I mean, they've been one of the most adamant backers of unions out there, fighting, walking rallies, holding signs, and they have a long history of helping out unions and backing them. So I close tie between Bernie and Elizabeth Warren.
So does one of them have your vote probably in the future?
Yeah, I'd probably say that if they rise to the top. I mean, right now, how many are there? 20?
There's 25, but only 20 get to be in the debates.
Exactly, only 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. You run the risk of being too many people, and it crowds out the winner per se, and then you end up with somebody else that doesn't necessarily match up well against Trump, and they get killed in the general election.
I would bet if I had I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm going to go to Vegas on you here.
Well, you can just wait a while and go to Chicago.
Yeah, I can wait a long while, and then my losings will go to the police and the firefighters, and I'm happy to support those pensions. All right,
me and you go to the casino.
All right, I would bet that in 2016, young Jeff Johnson was a Bernie bro. Am I right? Did you support Bernie Sanders?
I did like him. Yeah, I went to an event with Alderman Sue Garza down in her ward where Bernie showed up, and I had a beer with him.
Oh, cool.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And just having a beer with Bernie Sanders and talking to him and everything. And yeah, this was right after Sue got elected, so a year
2015.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and it was a good time, and I got to talk to him. So yeah, and yeah. So.
Do you have your Bernie Sanders imitation you want to do right now?
No, I do not actually. I suck at imitations. So.
$27. That's me. Okay, that's me. If you talk about me imitating Dennis, that's me imitating Dennis, imitating Bernie Sanders.
Take 10% of the other 10%, and then you got 10%.
It just says 10% a lot. I got two questions here. We had someone on the live stream chat weigh in here. ACA, what up, ACA? ACA was listening to you guys talk pensions. ACA asks, Tier 1 and 2 funded how much?
Tier 1s, Tier 1s pay 8.5%, and their benefits cost, the normal cost is roughly 18%, so you're getting that benefit there. Tier 2s are right around the 83% because they pay 8.5% of their pension. They pay 8.5% and they can retire at 65.
Wait, time out. What is 80? When you say Tier 2s pay 83%, what does that mean?
Of their entire benefit, how it plays out, where they went from you're still paying 8.5%, but instead of you can retire at 33 years or whatever, but now you have to work till you're 65. So those additional 15 years you have to work and pay in. They calculate it for like what's your benefit worth. So the benefit, if the true cost of paying the normal cost of benefit for Tier 1, it's around 16 to 18%. Tier 2s which meaning you would have to pay for the benefit. I would have to pay 18% of my check every check to pay out what my benefit's worth. But we pay 8.5%.
I see. So city pays the rest.
Yeah, city pays the rest.
The taxpayers.
And so on the flip side, when you work longer and pay more, you're paying more of your benefit. So tier 2s pay roughly 83% of their entire benefit. And because they're paying so much more, and tier 3s are 93%.
And the whole point of this was, and I learned this from young Jeff Johnson, so the youth of today can sometimes educate the older people.
We tried that in that music segment earlier.
That was hilarious.
That was kind of like a train wreck watching.
That was pretty funny. But anyway, so yes, they called it pension reform, and it occurred during Patrick Quinn's
2011
administration, and it was an attempt to deal with pension obligations by having a second, they call it a second tier, it's a second group of younger employees who will pay more of their
contribution and work longer.
Work longer to get their benefit, and therefore taxpayers will have less of an obligation.
Exactly.
And that was an attempt to deal with the quote-unquote pension crisis, which I will point out one more time. Jeff Johnson doesn't have to say it. I'll say it. Did not exist in 2009 when we were trying to get the Olympics. Only existed when we woke up one day and discovered Brazil had out-corrupted us. All right. And
we do have the audio of Donald Trump here. Bruce on the live stream chat said, no Trump sound bites in it. I guess he thought I wasn't going to do it. And he says, thanks, Dennis. Sorry, Bruce, we got to play it here. Donald Trump a few moments ago attempted to disavow the racist chanting that broke out at his rally last night in North Carolina. Yeah, despite the fact that it kind of started from him. Here we go.
Mr. President, if I may, when your supporters last night were chanting, send her back, why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you ask them to stop saying that?
Well, number one, I think I did. I started speaking very quickly. It really was a loud, I disagree with it, by the way, but it was quite a chant, and I felt a little bit badly about it, but I will say this, I did, and I started speaking very quickly, but it started up rather fast, as you probably noticed.
So you'll tell your supporters never to say
well,
that again?
I would say that. I was not happy with it.
Wow.
I disagree with it, but again, I didn't say that, they did, but I disagree with it.
But they were echoing what you said in your first tweet, that they should go back.
Well, I don't think if you examine it, I don't think you'll find that, but I disagree with it. Anybody else?
Why did they do it?
Man, who's the reporter? That guy's got guts.
Yeah.
He keeps pestering him with the question. Whoever that reporter is, give him a raise. Take it out of petty cash.
I am shocked that he answered it that way. I mean, that was almost presidential. It's just...
That is when people have been saying that, Jeff Johnson, for so long, that Donald Trump would be unbeatable with this economy if he acted presidential. There are many people, I would never vote for Donald Trump, just my own personal opinions. We're two different political creatures with different ideologies and worldviews. But there is a presidential way that we expect from our chief commander, and you do not openly pick at the racial wounds and scars that we have in this country. Even Baby Bush, who I didn't support, would talk about healing and the need to get along and having a tolerance, etc., and so forth. Donald Trump just gives his middle finger to that, and he just plows ahead. So this, as you point, was his first attempt. And by the way, I can guarantee it'll be contradicted by some tweet tomorrow.
Some tweet tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I still think, and I had an argument but I had a debate with my brother yesterday. He goes, I guarantee you Donald Trump does not get reelected. There's so many things that are just piling up. I go, no. I think he keeps his base at the very least. And then the ones that, it's like what happened with the Bruce Rauner election. You have your ones that are out that that are with him. You have your ones that are adamant against him. Yeah. And it's that silent crowd that will never tell you that they voted for him, but they agree with him on some of these issues. And it's the change. I want change. We've had Joe Biden for 30, 50 years, whatever. So it's the quiet ones that aren't going to poll, that aren't going to talk to you about it, but they're the ones that have voted for him, and they tilt the scale.
Well, that's the Dennis theory. And Dennis's theory, and I'm going to paraphrase it, is that people lie to the polls when it comes to Donald John Trump. They're going to vote for him, but they're embarrassed, and so they say no. And so that you can't really trust the polls.
I agree.
I'm going with your brother on this one. I think Donald Trump.
Way, huh?
I think Donald Trump will lose. I think. By the way, I've been known to flap in the breeze on this one. Remember, it goes day to day, but at the moment, I think Donald Trump will lose. I do not believe this country will elect a president who has supporters chanting "Send her back."
Well, you got to think right now we're basically more than halfway through 2019. This year, the markets should be fine. Everybody's saying that through this year, beginning of next, there's not too many rocky waters ahead. So you have a good economy going. If the housing market is still kind of doing okay-ish, nationwide, and he doesn't really step on his toes too much, he's keeping his base. And, and then a lot of it goes back to the 25 candidates against him. You have the potential of two of the good ones that could match up good with him nationally, getting bounced out, and then some knucklehead rises up, and
the views and opinions of Jeff Johnson are not necessarily those of the Ben Joravsky show.
But no, you know what I mean. You can't beat somebody with nobody, right? Yeah. And if there's not a good opponent, Hillary was just the wrong opponent for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
If it were anybody, and I say anybody else, if it were somebody else, probably would have beat him.
All right. Well, this is why I'm really looking forward to the next debate. And your homework assignment will be to watch it, because I'm really curious to see how Joe Biden will respond. Didn't do so well in that first debate. Let's see how he responds. In his career, he's always come back strong. I'll see how Kamala Harris performs. She did very well in that first debate, making a name for herself. Can she continue to do that? Will Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, push themselves? People are forgetting them. You talked about how unions, how strongly pro-union they've been. So we'll see how they project. And the basic point is we have a long way to go.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe someone that we're writing off as nobody will emerge as a somebody, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I am Ben Joravsky. That is Jeff Johnson. He's our pension expert, our fellow political junkie. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Lior Galil. Did a great job educating me about music in the early part of the show. Remember that, D? I was learning a lot. Okay?
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah.
That was rough to listen to.
And Leah, great job as always. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend behind the board, playing in pain with that root canal surgery he did yesterday. The psilocybin kicked in and he was feeling no pain. Jeff, you know what they call him back home in Alton, Illinois? They call him White Lightning. You did a great job. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
And remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites, chicago.suntimes.com/pages/Joravsky. It's a new one now. Used to be just Joravsky. ChicagoReader.com, and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. We're now on Spotify. Tell your friends and downloaders. We live stream this program Tuesdays through Fridays, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Time at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and the YouTube page of the Chicago Sun-Times. See you tomorrow.